All right. What's up, everybody? Thought I'd go live today. Sunday. It is storming in the south. So if the internet goes out, we'll start all over again, possibly. So I made all my notes today on my computer, so I'm going to sit here and just look at a few like that. So, man, what a week. What a last 2 weeks it's been. I love it, man. It's showing who is and who ain't. And a lot of people are learning who is and who ain't. And a lot of people need to learn who not to follow and who to follow. This I titled, it's going to be titled on Rumble, Drain Your Swamp. Some of you ain't learned that yet. Some of you have. When I do videos, I talk as if someone has never heard me before. So a lot of people who follow me already know that. So I talk as if a new audience is listening always. So all of you who are faithful, true patriots by definition, then just hang with me, right? Because you also have experienced all this last 12, 13 days, the last 2 weeks, a lot of never-Trumpers who had to vote for President Trump because they say that's all they had, right? So all the never-Trumpers and all the rhinos resurfaced. All the Republicans looking like liberals. Go figure, right? So you don't want to be the centerfold of looking like a libtard. So why do you look like a libtard? Why do you act like a libtard? I mean, you could know everything I know. Everything. Now, there are some things that I do know that I don't talk about. There's some things that, I know that some people, could know but don't know. There's a lot of things. However, again, God put me in a position to be right here. I couldn't go to every household and talk for 4 and 8 and 10 and 12 hours at a time with my documents that I'd written, all right, that were published January 2021. So God gave me a platform. And I get to talk, and it's been distributed. We get hundreds of thousands of views here and there, depending on what it is and who it is and what podcast it is and whatnot. But that's because of faithful patriots who share the post. All right. The key thing right now is being consistent. All right. There's a unique set of laws and orders in place that outline a unique strategic and special operation. I mean, you've heard me say it over and over and over and over again. It's right there. All right. The way you figure that out is to go read what's in place. All right. So the true colors are flying everywhere right now for all these rhinos, never-Trumpers. All right. One, because they call him Trump. All right. His name is President Trump. All right. Get it right. Get the respect there. Put the etiquette and protocol there. All right. Too many people don't know etiquette and protocol these days. All right. It's because discipline's been thrown out the window. Standards have been thrown out the window. All kinds of structure has been thrown out the window. All right? You don't want to look like a liberal. And liberals are licking their chops. Every time a rhino looks stupid, or every time a never-Trumper says something stupid, guess what liberals do? They feed on that. And then you all look the same. It's wild, man. It's wild. It's crazy. So, too many people are listening to so many moving lips out there. Flapping gums, moving lips. Flapping gums, moving lips. And then you'll hear people say, do your own research. No, that's what got everybody in trouble, is by doing your research off of a Google search. All right, you're trusting a Google search. All right, and most of this stuff's coming from a .org or a .net or a .this, and it depends on what the sources of foundation are. It could still come from a good .org site, .net, but it depends on the foundation of the source. If the foundation of the source is not built on the foundation and the fabric of our nation, which is a lot more than just the Constitution, you're in trouble. So there's a lot of people out there You already know the names, all right? This week, I've had all kinds of messages and comments. More you talking about flooded up. And you're looking like you made 10 steps forward and took 50 steps backwards. Because you put too much faith and trust into influencers who only talk drama and propaganda. Tucker Carlson has never once quoted a law anywhere. And if he's even under an NDA right now, if he's under an NDA right now, then he's exempt. But even before this unique strategy and setup, before that 45, Tucker Carlson never talked about a law or an order. Not one time. Things that provide solutions in our nation. Things that bring people together with perspectives and solutions for all of us. Tucker Carlson not one time has ever talked about laws, orders, executive orders, etc. before this right here. Alex Jones has never talked about laws and orders. It's all been big bad boy. We got to get our rights back in this nation. And it's just drama and propaganda. Drama and propaganda. Clickbait. 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 No solutions whatsoever. And if you got a problem with someone like me and saying, "Oh, you're just jealous," I'm no one's jealous. I don't have anything to be jealous of. One, Alex Jones is not a veteran, so I got him beat right there already straight out the gate. Two, I'm not being compromised and bought out like he was. All right, do you see any fancy backgrounds back here? I know a lot of cool people that have good, I know some good people with cool backgrounds, but do you see me with that? Have you seen me change yet? Have you seen me rolling around in Rolls Royces and all this other shit that these people have? I don't think so. All right, do you see me with a massive security team around me saying, "Oh, you can't talk to him today," and blah, 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 blah? Do you see me on a video being leaked talking bad about President Trump like Alex Jones? Have you not seen any of this stuff? But what do? You put your faith into people like that. Not a foundation, not a solution. See, and people don't know how to separate the fact that I'm not worshiping President Donald John Trump from the simple standpoint because he's President Donald John Trump. No, he's my commander-in-chief. All right, there's only 6% of this population that are veterans. We can say that. He is our commander-in-chief. All right, he's your president. He's my commander-in-chief. Huge difference. All right, I don't worship him simply because of who he is. All right, I know the foundation and the fabric of our nation, but I also know the laws and the orders of which he invoked, and they are all supportive of our foundation, the fabric of our nation, the Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all of the thoughts and ideas and perspectives of our founders. And see, the only way you're going to know that is to go study what our founders gave us. Everybody loves my saying, it's that simple. It really is that simple. But until you put all this other noise and flapping gums and propaganda and drama and all this other shit aside and go to the foundation, you're going to replicate exactly what the swamp is and was. So you're going to drain your swamp. Candace Owens, same thing. We're not in a place right now with military laws outlining exactly what they outline, and a veteran like myself, as well as all the other veterans that I'm on platforms with, now's not the time to be questioning President Trump. All right? That is not what a quote-unquote journalist should be doing right now. There is a unique set of laws and orders that are currently invoked that outline a military occupation, a military operation, military government, government exile, puppet government, continuity government. That's a unique set of laws and orders that don't usually happen, has not happened. We used puppet governments in the 40s. It's a unique set of laws and orders that we don't want to happen again. because we let everything fester to a bubbling point where we almost lost our nation, all because people don't know laws and orders. They were brainwashed, and people got brainwashed on rights and rights and rights and rights, and don't even know what rights are versus a privilege. A right versus a privilege. Consistency matters. All right, consistency matters. Not consistency in drama, not consistency in propaganda. We have the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 that Obama reversed in 2012, where journalists could use propaganda. So think about 1948, where we were in 1948. World War II, right? And then moving into Korea in 1950. So look at why we don't have to say they're not founders. This was not that long ago that people, Congress, were putting in an act that says not to use propaganda in news clips and news articles. And then Obama reversed it in 2012, which means that news was using propaganda and drama. So why do you want to support what replicates the swamp? And I'm not the one who hammered Tucker Carlson and all them first. President Trump did. You're not even listening to the man you claim to support. Coming over here, it's because I'll see your messages and he won't. I figured it out. I know what it is. I'll see your messages and he won't. So you want to come over here and bitch to me about, oh, I can't believe you'd say that about Tucker, and I can't believe you'd post that about them. President Trump posted about it. I'm following the lead of the commander. I listen and support the man that I support. Pretty simple. Ain't that how it's supposed to work? I mean, this baffles me that we even have to have this conversation with certain people out there. That you think that you have some kind of right to question the authority when you don't even know the literature? I mean, isn't that how that works? Authority, do you hear the word, the root word in that? An author? So how can you question the author, but you don't even know the literature from the author? Well, I love this stuff, man. It's so hilarious. People losing their mind. And what's funny about all this? If you listen to the man you claim to support, and you knew a little bit about the man you claim to support, you would know this is old news. He'll put something out, the liberals lose their minds. In 1 to 3 business days, boom, there's an answer for it. And all the people who went out there and put their ignorance in timestamps on social media, they're either trying to delete it or, oh God, maybe no one will remember that. Because some of them know if they delete it, they're even more guilty. Because someone like me's probably already screenshot it and timestamped it and emailed it to myself for the walk of shame. So there you go right there. So why did rhinos and Republicans and supposedly patriots all this past week lose their minds? Not our war. Not our war. Putting up posts. Here was a woman now who was on President Trump's religious team. All right, all of a sudden thinks because they were nominated on some team over here, not by President Trump himself. He didn't pick all these people himself. He has someone who put a staff together. All right, and they said, we have this team recommendation, and here's the people on it. He approved that, right? That's what you call an approval. He didn't put this list together. So all of a sudden, we have this little dandelion who thinks they're Daisy, all right, who goes and puts up this post, not our war. I won't be sending my boys to war. And most of these people don't even have kids, all right? They're saying, not going to send our boys to war. They don't even know the difference in a war and an operation, simply because they don't know a single law in place. Not one single law. And all these quote-unquote patriots and President Trump supporters, right, goes and put their ignorance in timestamp too, and didn't have to if they just knew the laws and the orders invoked and the strategic operation and strategies and tactics by the man they claim to support. So now they all look stupid. In a matter of just a few days, all of those that claim to be President Trump supporters, claim to be patriots, claim to be all about this nation on the patriotic side, all of a sudden look stupid just that quick. Same thing with Israel. All these patriots, quote unquote patriots out there talking about Israel. President Trump, just truth today, that the courts have put a pause on the corruption trial because of his recommendation for Benjamin Netanyahu. Look at all the people. Look at all the quote-unquote patriots. And I saw some as far as to go and to say that, oh, they were saying out of their mouth that all of you claiming to be patriots are going to look stupid when this is all said and done. No, you look stupid because you don't have a basis and a foundation on laws and orders by the man you claim to support. You're going off of what you think you've researched off of a Google search engine where you don't even know where the internet is, who the internet is, who runs the internet, and where that information's being put there for you to access. See, that's why I don't use Q too often. All right, I believe it. Q is a clearance, first off, from the Department of Energy. It's a special kind of clearance, but I don't even use Q a whole lot. All right, because the average American right now cannot even grasp one single line from one single law. And a lot of them will say, once you get to the terminology of military occupation and government in exile and puppet government and your continuity government, then guess what they do? You lose them right there already because they'll say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. They can't even fathom that there are laws and orders that are uniquely there as prescribed by the law to go into a unique strategy and unique setup that allows the president to expand his powers with presidential emergency action documents in a continuity government. So no wonder we look the way we look. We have people who want to argue with current and vote laws, but especially quote-unquote Republicans and quote-unquote conservatives and quote-unquote patriots and quote-unquote President Trump supporters. So think how atrocious it is for any category of those to replicate a liberal. Woo! Then you have the comments. I get the comments like this. He's just dragging this out to fit his narrative. So I'm dragging out the laws and the orders. Okay, somebody get President Trump on the phone and tell him that it's me who's dragging out all the laws and orders that he's using. That's how you apply that comment. Because I don't ever talk about things that are drama and propaganda. I show you how you're following a bunch of drama and propaganda. Tucker Carlson is drama and propaganda. Alex Jones is drama and propaganda. Candace Owens is drama and propaganda. The Hodge twins, drama, propaganda. All these people are drama, propaganda. And the way you also see it too is they'll put on there stuff like, they'll put a comment up, and they're not the only ones, there's a bunch of them. They'll say, oh, President Trump's going to do this. What do you think? Boom! Comment box. And every time you type in the comment box, the algorithm runs that post up more visual to people. It's simple coding. All you need to know is how the internet works and how the algorithms work, how these apps work. You're contributing to more people seeing drama and propaganda because you won't go on there and simply unfollow. They have most quote-unquote Republicans, conservatives, and patriots unhinged to where they got you controlled, where you'll go on there and comment thinking, oh, I'm making my voice known. No, all you're doing is feeding into whatever they're selling. That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. So how am I dragging laws and orders out? If the laws still show we're in the continuity government, then we're still in the continuity government because the law says we are. All right? When there's an invocation date back here, December the 7th, 2020, and there's a partial revocation on January the 19th, 2025, it means it's prevalent because they partially revoked it. You can't revoke something that wasn't invoked. So here they partially revoked it on January the 19th, 2025, when it ran for a full year's full COG. It shows it's not only prevalent, it also shows it's relevant, and it also shows that we're still in it because they partially revoked it just a few months ago. So how am I dragging stuff out? People who make those comments are lazy. People who make those comments prove they haven't read or studied or comprehended one single thing. So what I try to do is, for people who follow me, sometimes when people see negativity or drama in the comment boxes, they feed on that as well. And it feeds more laziness. And it feeds more complacency. Then I have to come back on here and recircle around and go, all right, come back in. Let's go to the foundation. This is what President Donald John Trump's working with. He couldn't have done this alone, and he couldn't have done this as a regular president. Here's what he's using. If you love the man, you support the man, you really should want to know what the man's using, because you can go ahead and exonerate him in your heart in another kind of manner, whether you needed to or not. You can do that. And then you can learn that for your little small groups and your family, your friends, your circles, your towns, your communities, whatever it is, whatever capacity you are, you would know that and build yourself on that. So no, I'm not dragging stuff out, because laws and orders show we're still in a continuity government. And when you know what a continuity government is, then you know there was presidential emergency action documents. And when you know all the other laws and orders invoked, you'll know that we're in a military occupation, military operation, government in exile, military government. You'll know that, because you would know the terminology. And when one is invoked, you'll go, oh, we've never had to use that. And when that happens, this is what's happening over here. Also, all the ones that I had in 2023, I had this hate group after me, right? Incompetent, stupid, morons, lazy, all right? Trying to steal my federal trademark, trying to create all kinds of stuff out there, all because I have a First Amendment. Okay, let's just say that I didn't know laws and orders. Well, let's say I do, but let's just say that there's some reason I had this prefabricated story I was trying to do. Well, what's that got to do? What's that got to do with my First Amendment? Think about it. Trying to steal something. All right, so when you think about these low-level fools and thieves, then you got to think about what was these people doing over here that made President Trump give them a nickname. See, you haven't figured all that out yet, because it's not been disclosed to you. You're not going to find that on your little Google searches on all these little .orgs and .nets made by some other man or woman out there. You're not going to find that. You're not going to find that yet. That hasn't been disclosed to you yet. So how come all these haters and trolls and negative Nancys and Debbie Downers and all these people out there, how come they can't explain why, quote unquote, Joe Biden had a Democratic House and Senate control from 2021 to 2023, but yet he continued 8 executive orders with 8 national emergencies by President Donald John Trump from 2017 to 2021 that would have automatically terminated without a continuation? All of those executive orders with national emergencies are the very orders that are deporting the migrants, enforcing DOGE, tackling and battling the illicit drugs, opioids crisis, which is still ties into drug trafficking, but a separate also war. And then you have your battle and your wars on drug trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking, and child trafficking. Massive, massive declaration of war by President Trump. All these in executive orders. Taking back the Panama Canal, July 14, 2020. That executive order. How come Joe Biden, with a Democratic House and Senate, full control, just continued all these orders just to hand right back to President Trump on January the 2025. Here you go, President Trump. Just by the way, we're going to call you a dictator, and we're going to say you're violating the Constitution, and we're going to say all these hateful things about you, but here's all your executive orders back. We didn't let them terminate. Matter of fact, I signed all of them and continued them for you. How come the liberals and Democrats aren't losing their everlasting minds that, quote-unquote, Joe Biden received 81 million votes sitting in his whitey-tighties in his basement Never had a big rally whatsoever. He got the most votes in United States history. Never left his basement. But he didn't receive a traditional flight into D.C. on Air Force One. Every other president got one. Even Obama got a traditional flight into D.C. on Air Force One. Except for old Sleepy Joe. How come the National Guard and all of our troops that were in D.C. that day didn't salute the motorcade as, quote-unquote, President Joe, who got the most votes in United States history, rode by in the motorcade? How come not one single National Guard saluted the motorcade? We always salute a flag, a moving flag, and also the Commander-in-Chief. How come, quote-unquote, Joe raised his right hand at 11:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is a violation of the 20th Amendment of the Constitution that all these libtards love to put in their mouth? They should be putting all the other stuff they put in their mouth and keeping that there versus the Constitution. All right, because the Constitution specifically says the 20th Amendment, an amendment to the Constitution, right, says that the president's term shall end at noon. The successor shall then begin. I guess that's why every other president in United States history swore in at 12:01 to 12:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I guess that's why. Except for Joe Biden. Army regulations, my branch, 600-25 2-3 cannon salutes will tell you that a commissioned officer is to be present at every cannon salute. Every other president, whether it was an inauguration or a funeral and or any other kind of ceremony, has a commissioned officer present, except for Joe Biden. Every other president had the official presidential salute battery, the 3rd Infantry Regiment, known as the Old Guard, the oldest unit in the United States Army, 1784, except for Joe Biden. This sounds like a game show. This is like a game show. It's like, name everything that everyone else had except for Joe Biden. And for the first time in United States inauguration history, on January the 20th, 2021, they showed 2 sets of cannons. One at Arlington National Cemetery and one at Joint Base Andrews with President Donald John Trump with a red carpet rollout. And the media told you that was the official presidential salute battery, the 3rd Infantry Regiment, known as the Old Guard, with President Donald John Trump, with 4 cannons, which are, by definition and tradition and customs, 4 cannons, 21 rounds, is a 21 gun salute. Quote unquote, Joe had the first ever cannons shown at Arlington National Cemetery on January the 20th, which is Inauguration Day. 3 cannons at Arlington. How is it that people can go to Arlington National Cemetery, .mil, the official military site for Arlington, and it specifically read the 3 volley salute, rifle or cannons, seen or heard at Arlington, is not to be confused with a 21 gun salute. The 3 volley salute is a funeral service, a military funeral honors. It tells you it is not a 21 gun salute. And we have people out there who will deny all of those. Why aren't the liberals going crazy? Why aren't the Democrats all mad and pissed that their boy didn't receive every single thing that every other president has had and deserved by customs and traditions? So where are these quote-unquote haters? Where are they? If I'm dragging things out, then how come they can't explain why quote-unquote Joe did not have any of those? And also, to this day, go over to the Department of Defense, another .mil site, another official Department of Defense. How come the last national security strategy on the DoD.mil is 2017? 2022 to 2025 was plenty of time to post a little image of quote-unquote Joe's NSS from 2022. So where is it? Why doesn't the Department of Defense recognize that? How come every other president besides Joe had an order of succession within the Department of Defense? The most recent order of succession that we're using to this day, June 29th, 2025, is Executive Order 13963 from December the 10th, 2020. Remember all the haters in 2023 saying, oh, that's back in 2020, that's old. It's even older now. Why is it the most recent order of succession that the DoD is using to this day? Is President Trump's from December the 10th, 2020? Every president had an order of succession within the Department of Defense except for, hit the drum roll, Joe Biden! President Trump issued a national security presidential memorandum on January 28, 2017. 8 days after taking the oath, President Donald John Trump is signing a national security presidential memorandum with an order of succession. Very telltale. National security. Well, guess what would accompany a national security presidential memorandum? A national security strategy. Oh man, I love this stuff. Then, February the 4th, 2025, President Trump issues National Security Presidential Memorandum -2, his second, just this past February, with an order of succession. The order of succession from 2017, though, starts with the Vice President. The order of succession with the 2025 starts with the Secretary of State. Do you know what that's for? Continuity of government. A Secretary of State is more efficient and effective for a continuity of government than the Vice President. And then guess what? Right dab in the middle is old quote-unquote Joe Biden in the middle. And they have the puppet government, the government in exile, the continuity government, the military occupation, the dash had quote-unquote Joe put out an NSPM, but it don't have an order of succession there. Wonder why? Because Joe is not president, was not president. So let me ask all of these retards out there. I'm so glad that word has made a comeback because so many are deserving of that title. So many deserve to have that right on their forehead. Since the tattoo fad is in right now, which needs to go away with some people, there should be, every one of these people who think like that should have the word retard tattooed right on their forehead. That way you don't even waste your time. You just see them coming and you're like, okay, they don't have the IQ to talk to me today, or any day for that matter. You just keep right on going. That's what every one of these people that have put in their ignorance in timestamps, showing that they're willing to open their traps and open their mouths, but they're not willing to go read the laws and the orders in place that provide solutions for all of us. Contributions is what we call that, with perspectives. We all need perspectives, but if your perspective does not support the foundation, it's null and void. All right? Ours do. So if you can't meet us on our ground, then you're not worthy of that. But especially if you're saying something that is so far-fetched or idiotic or crazy and all these other things, boom, you should have a forehead tattoo. Retard. All right. Thank you for letting that word come back. All right. By its origin. So let's just do this really quick. I've been doing this before, and I'm going to keep doing it because I think it's really cool. If I know where they are, all right, but for the people who don't, and a lot of you already do yourself because you're true patriots, but if this is for your friends and family and people who are still giving you grief. I know a lot of you patriots. You write in, and I love the messages. I get to them when we can. We read as many as we can. You're a lot of great patriots. You're still experiencing this with your friends and family. So this is for your friends and family from Rattle Trap right here. So you tell them, or you ask them, or just show them this video. You say, if Obama, Hillary, Bill, Chelsea, Al Gore, Pelosi, just name anybody really, any kind of DNC, whatever. If they're free to roam outside of social media, because you can't see someone texting or anything like that or messaging outside of social media. See, this is where they get them. They say, well, they posted today on their Twitter. If Obama, Bill, Hillary, and all that crew are free to roam this earth, meaning they don't have anything watching them, they don't have any ankle bracelets on, anything. Where are they? President Trump throughout 2021, 2022, 2023 had these rallies. He flew all over the nation. You know how much gas that costs in an aircraft? You know how much gas that would be? All right. So, again, if you believe in President Trump, support President Trump. He told you, I don't need donors' money. I don't need any of I don't need any of that money. So he's flying around on his time and his dime. The liberals don't believe that, but they don't matter anyway. They got the tattoo right here. They're retards. All right, because they don't know anything about laws and orders. They have no foundation. And every time you try to even talk to one, when you pin them up here, they go over here and they go here because they have no direction. They're aimless. So Republicans don't need to look like that. Conservatives don't need to look like that. Patriots don't need to look like that, but they do. A lot of them do. So this is about draining the swamp, draining their swamp, draining your swamp. So if they're free to roam, why aren't they out rallying all the retards? They got all the retards in the streets. They got a lot of them out there protesting. There's one thing about a libtard, they will protest. They don't care about football or anything like that. They don't care about games on the weekends. They will get out and look stupid with a sign. At least give them that. I'll give credit where it's due. They'll get out with a sign. They need one on their forehead, but they'll get out with a sign and they'll protest. They don't know what they're protesting because they have no foundation they stand on. They all want things their way. They're like they'd be perfect for Burger King because they all want it their way. But they'd all have everything so messed up. Be like that Charlie Daniels song. Had them out there stepping and fetching like their heads were on fire and their asses were catching. Well, that's what liberals look like. None of them have the same foundation. They just all are a bunch of stupid mixed together. But stupid is, right? They'll get out there and they'll hold up a sign. Boy, they think they're doing something. So why aren't Bill, Hillary, Chelsea, wasn't she supposed to be the future? Wasn't no little redhead Raggedy Ann? Wasn't she supposed to be the future? She was so ugly she could make a freight train take a dirt road. Like she was, woo! That freight train be run down the track, just hop the track, hit a 90-degree turn, and run right off and derail itself if Chelsea Clinton stood in front of a freight train. Wasn't she supposed to be the future? Where'd she go? What happened to her? All right, so where are all these people? Why aren't they out in the streets with their retarded, infested groups rallying them, saying, we got to take this country back. Donald Trump's a threat to democracy, and he's a dictator, and he's this. Why aren't they out there rallying their retards? It's a very honest question. It's very simple and honest. If President Trump is a threat and a dictator and all this other stuff, why isn't Obama, Hillary, Bill, and all of them, why aren't they out there rallying these people going, this is how we take it back, this is what we got to do? Where are they? President Trump was out at rallies. There's no such thing as a midterm rally, ladies and gentlemen. No such thing. Not whatsoever. Especially based on FEC rules and guidelines. They're not there. So then, you have these other group of people. they identify as patriots. But they're all word and not walk. They think they're a patriot. I receive messages of 9 years, this has been 9 years, when's this going to be done? Oh, when's this going to be over? Nothing's going to change until we see people arrested. You all think this is a destination. You get hitched on a hiccup. You're not looking at the big picture. This is the big picture. And until you know the big picture, the 40,000 foot view with the laws and the orders, unique laws and orders, not just regular laws and orders, a unique laws and orders that set up a unique strategy, a unique operation. Until you know that, you're going to look pretty atrocious on this side of things. Who doesn't want justice, first off? If you claim to be a patriot, who wouldn't want justice? That's like going to a football game and not wanting a touchdown. That's how simple this stuff is. I can't fathom thinking like that, and I try to get into the minds of people who think like that, but you're not reading, studying, and comprehending. If you want clarity, if you want peace, if you want solace, if you want comfort, if you want answers, you need to know what the commander's working with. He's not firing off at the hip every morning. He's not going to sleep when he can and waking up going, well, I finally woke up, got that good 4-hour power nap. It's 11:30 a.m. What do you want to do today, boys? What you think? That's not how this stuff's working. And if you think that is, you're doing yourself an injustice. And you're doing these pages an injustice. I'm not here for the numbers. If I were, I should be complaining why there's not more people following me, because I'm the only one who can take the full-fledged blueprint in one sitting and show all the laws and orders, if you'll hang on for 3 or 4 or 5 hours when I do a spiel like that, which are not common these days because of the attention spans, and they're already there. But I'm not about the numbers. But if I were, everybody should be following me. I'm the only one that shows exactly what's going on by the laws and orders. And when people go read, study, and comprehend, I receive emails all the time where they'll say, man, I finally went and read and studied. I listened to you, but I finally went and read and studied, and holy, it's there. Yes, it's there. That's why I'm here. That's why God put me here. All right, and it's tough. It's tough not to use some 4-letter words sometimes. It's tough. There's you Christians out there who will message me too, beat me up for the language. You can't please everybody. It's like splitting hairs everywhere. You can't please everybody. But I'm doing the best I can with what God gave me. All right, but the laws and orders are there. If you go read and study them in the order in which they are. The reason why other influencers aren't doing it is because they'll have to acknowledge that they got it from intellectual property. See, laws and orders are public, but I'm the one who put this whole thing together in the way that it's put together. That's why these books, here comes your advertisement, but facts are facts. These books are #1 bestsellers. 217 pages, 596 pages. No publisher. No ghostwriter. Straight up me. So, again, you don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a congressman or woman. You don't have to be a veteran. You don't have to be any of those things to know what's going on right now. You have to drain your swamp. You have to empower yourself. You have to allow that. You control your emotions. You control that. You're the one who lets people run over you, talk down to you, whatever it may be, wherever you are in your life, even outside of government and military. You allow what you allow in your life. You do that. So why don't you flip your script? I call that, it's one of my sayings I've used for years. Flip your script. That old saying, I don't know who quoted it. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But it says, insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's what insanity is. You want something different, and you want quote-unquote change, but you're doing the same thing, the same repetition, and you're ending up at the same spot because you're not changing whatever it is, your routine, the way you think, whatever it may be, but really you're thinking. So what God put me here for is to allow you to escape the matrix, to escape it. Put everybody else down for a moment. There's a lot of good podcasters out there, no doubt. But allow yourself to go, man, why is this guy popular? Why is this guy the talk? Why does he have number ones? And then why do I look the same? Why am I consistent? Why haven't I been bought out? Why haven't I been compromised? There's a reason. Some of us are actually good people. Some of us have been put here by certain people as well. All right. When I was in Nashville, chasing my dream before my billboard hits and all that, there was a big hit producer there who I wanted to write with. He asked me what was my idea. Well, I texted another friend of mine. I said, wait. I said, all I got to do is send him an idea. What if he likes it and cuts me out of it and writes it himself? My buddy goes, man, he's so big. He is such a hit producer and a hit songwriter. You even be able to text him, he wouldn't be doing that to you like that. So see, you got to think it's flipping your script. See, I never thought of it like that. I didn't think, oh, I'm honored to be able to text this guy on a text basis. We're talking about a massive hit producer, massive hit songwriter. I'm not going to say his name right now, but big hit guy. See, I had to flip my script because my buddy said, man, you got to be able to trust somebody. What have they done to you up to this point? Is it consistent to trust them? Well, in order to know if it was consistent to trust someone, you got to be doing what? Knowing what they're providing you. What are they leading you to? What are they giving you? What are their bases? What's their foundation? So all these patriots out there that keep complaining about justice, again, that's like going to a football game and not wanting a touchdown. We all want justice. That is a very premise of our foundation. Liberty, justice for all. Right? It's one of our premises. It's in our Federalist Papers. I mean, it talks about punishment. It even talks about a form of punishment. 2 forms of punishment. In one of the Federalist Papers, it talks about military force. That's what you're seeing right now. And the liberals, look how they're acting. So if you don't want to look like a liberal, you probably need to know that there's a unique setup, a strategic operation going on. So here's how you flip your script. When you say nothing will change until we see arrest, how about you flip it this way? Now, only you know who you are. Only you know if you've been awake, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it. Only you know when you came to the realization of what we call being awakened. Only you know that. So here's how you flip it. So I'm going to step on some toes really quick on the ones who aren't awake or didn't, or maybe think they're awake and they're not. How about this? How about you who allowed the swamp to fester where it got to and then complain right before we lost it? Why is it that you're just now starting to fight? How about you look at what America festered to, what the United States did, quote unquote, united. Think about the word, the root word of that, united. We ain't been united in a long time. We're not united. We're divided. We're the divided states of America. All right, so when you look at the word united, and you look at the premise of what our founders established with the Federalist Papers, the writing of the Federalist Papers exposes the swamp massively. So when you think about what America festered to, President Trump used my term. I was the one who used the word fester. I love the word fester. And I said this a long time ago, and after I said it, and after I met President Trump, he started using the word fester. All right, he does that to compliment certain people. I'm not the only one he's ever done it to. He uses certain words that are unique and not something in everyday language to show validation to you to keep doing what you're doing. He can't validate me verbally right now because we're still in a continuity government. We're still by laws, in an operation by law. Not because, I'm trying to drag some narrative out. If you go read the laws and orders, you'll see that I'm always ahead of everything. I mean, because again, this is a delayed process, unfortunately, because Americans are so slow, lazy, complacent, quick to complain, short attention spans. It has to be drug out. If you want it to go faster, then you shouldn't let it get to this point. So here's how you flip it again. Why are you rooting for arrest? If Americans were doing what they were supposed to be doing by the foundation, by the prescription that our founders gave us, if Americans were doing that, my dad always told me growing up, if you do what's right from the start, you won't have to worry about anything else. If you're doing what's right and good from the start, you won't have to worry about anything else. See, these congressmen, these corrupt men and women who went in there and changed all this stuff without prescription by the Constitution, guilty already. But when they changed all that, like the War Powers Act, which we're going to get to in a minute, when they changed these things, man, think about it. What they did, they were brainwashing people. Because what did the people do? People forgot what you're supposed to know. So Congress allowed all this stuff to fester all these years. And right when Americans were thinking, we're about to lose it, that's when Americans want to fight? Is right before you're going to lose it? Versus having a solid foundation, knowing what's right, knowing what's wrong, knowing what's ethical, knowing what's not, knowing protocol, standard, accountability, responsibility, transparency, honesty. All those things up front will prevent any kind of hiccups or any kind of corruption. Because when everybody's doing all that, when everybody knows a discipline, a structure, a standard, a protocol, transparency, honesty, accountability, responsibility, when everybody has that discipline and structure in place, the punishments will be easy because the hiccups will be few and far between. Instead, we've had the polar opposite the last 150 years, but especially everybody living the last 65, 70 years. Especially when things went really downhill after President Eisenhower's military-industrial complex speech and after President Kennedy was assassinated. That's when things really went to a whole other level of corruption. And Americans just sitting back, that's what Congress does. They're all corrupt anyway. There's nothing we can do about it. Blah. Yes, there is something we can do about it. We, the people, are the government. We, the people. But this time it had to be a top-down operation because all these people down here, the majority, not some of you, but the majority, have their heads so far up their asses they can give themselves a tonsillectomy. Lazy, complacent, all a slave to the system, working 2 and 3 jobs now, getting taxed by all of them. All right. Also, entitlements. Remember during COVID, all the nurses? Oh, Lord, I'm a nurse. How can you know what's going on? I'm a nurse. I went to nursing school. Did you go to nursing school? Just because I wouldn't put a shot in my body? All right. Do you remember those attitudes? That's why I fight like hell to this day, because of all the piss poor attitudes I had to hear just because someone said, did you go to nursing school? Nope, sure didn't. But I'm not taking that shot. Sorry. Not sorry. Remember all the entitlements? Do you remember that? How they belittled you and made you feel? I walked around during 2020 saying, hey, did you take your vitamins this morning? What's that question for? Did you take your vitamins this morning? Because if you don't take your vitamins, mine won't work. Hey, did you wear your seatbelt when you drove to town today? Because if you don't wear your seatbelt, mine won't work. Remember all those entitlements? Remember all that bullshit? All that stuff they were saying? Do your duty. Do your duty and take the shot for everybody else. Remember that? So the shot wasn't for yourself. The shot was for everybody else. So then vitamins must work the same way. So if you don't take your vitamins, then my vitamins won't work. So why do I take vitamins? If you don't wear your seatbelt, my seatbelt, it ain't going to work. That's the same principle. See, and Americans don't have principle. They don't have standards. They don't have protocol. They don't have discipline. They don't have even etiquette. It's all about an entitlement. Selfish gain and entitlements. So, instead of saying we want to see arrest, how about you learn what prevents arrest? How about you learn what prevents arrest? Listen to it again. How about you learn what doesn't get us back in this position again? How about you learn those things? Because if it wasn't for a military and the generals with a very, very strategic plan via laws and orders where they can smack the liberals upside the head when the liberals say, oh, that's unconstitutional. Bam! Smack them upside the head. They don't even know anything about the Constitution. So, why it matters. Let's go back to laws and orders really quick. Let's do the breakdown of laws and orders. You know, I pulled up today, I was doing something about the Constitution, and I was putting a post up today because of what the liberals are all of a sudden doing again, all right, which is funny. Now they're reverting back to the 2024 election was stolen, so their heads are on fire and their asses are catching. They're all over the place. They don't know where the crapper go blind, that old saying. They don't know where the pooper go blind. They're just like going, oh, what do I do? You know. So the Constitution is this simple. This is why liberals, if you're listening, libtards, if there is a libtard who stumbles on this, congratulations. Maybe you'll be educated if you're capable of being saved. But it would be better for liberals to keep their mouths shut about the Constitution. Don't use that as nowhere near your basis. It would be better for a liberal to say, you know what, I don't like any of our foundation. All those men were out of touch. They were male chauvinists. They didn't allow any women back then. They should just go with all these crazy narratives they do today and say, you know what, I don't like any of that. Because when you say you have a First Amendment, the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights, that First Amendment was written by the same founders. So all the founders' literature, they all thought the same. They all connected, all this literature connected. So it'd be better for a liberal just to say, you know what, I'd rather just abolish everything and let's rewrite something new. That would be a better argument for a liberal than using the word Constitution anywhere, even when they're butchering it. But you shouldn't even do that, period. Take it from someone who knows that you look like a complete asshat when you use the term Constitution with anything you're trying to say. See, the Constitution is a framework for government. And I'm going to read the definition. That way it's very clear and concise and precise for the idiots out there. The Constitution is often described as a framework for government. It establishes the structure and basic principles of a government, outlining its different branches, their powers, and the relationship between the government and its citizens. However, very key here, however, it doesn't detail every single aspect of governance, leaving room for interpretation and adaptation through laws and practices. See, so I've been going back and rechanneling, going, okay, laws and orders. When people hear the term laws and orders, they just hear laws and orders. There's a ton of laws and there's quite a few orders. A law is the prescription of what the Constitution says. So when you read the Constitution, it is so funny when you actually read the Constitution to a liberal, because they look at you like you're stupid. And I'm like, no, you're the stupid one for using the Constitution as your basis of whatever you're trying to do because you look stupid. So let's just read the first section. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. Does that give a law? Is that an order under a law? No, it's not. It says legislative powers are herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. All right. Section 2. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualification requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained the age of 25 years and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of the state in which he shall be chosen. So that right there already knocks out all these people who call themselves sovereign nationals as well, because they say being a citizen is not American and it's not foundational. Article 1, Section 2 says it shall be a citizen of the United States. So there's that. Then also, it tells you right there that, okay, members are chosen every year by the people, every second year by the people. Well, we do that. We do that to this day. Do you hear a liberal whining and complaining that we vote every second year for the House of Representatives and the Senate? No, wait. Let's see. The House of Representatives and then the Senate, that's Section 3. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof for 6 years. Yeah. So, House of Representatives, Senate, Section 2, Section 3. So do you see any liberal out there complaining about that process? No, they don't complain about that because they don't know what the Constitution does and says. The Constitution is not a basis to stand on. The Constitution is the basis of what the Congress to do, the House to do, the Senate to do, the President to do, and the Vice President. And then what's been passed all these years are called laws. Those are your prescription, which is supposed to be neutral as possible. Then you have an order that goes under that law. The order is the action of that law. And then that law has to do what? Reflect the Constitution. Was it constitutional? So when you hear people say, is that constitutional or unconstitutional? Then you need to know what the Constitution prescribes for. Is it the House doing it, the Senate doing it, the President doing it, the Vice President? You need to know that. Then go to the law and read what the law says. When it was written, how it was written. What does it say? What's its command saying? Then go to the order. Does the order have a foundation with that law? Does it reflect this law right here? And as it's carried out, whoever's carrying it out, are they carrying it out as that law is prescribed? And then if that is here, then that has to be here. Boom, boom, boom. That's how dumb liberals look. So Republicans, you don't want to look stupid the same way. I know people don't like the word stupid, but again, sometimes words are necessary. A lot of people are looking atrocious right now on both sides of the aisle. So let's look at our revolutionary timeline again. I always do this because it's important. Our founders started a war. Our founders kicked off a war before they had anything on paper. April 19th, 1775, the Battle of Lexington and Concord. April, May, June. 2 months later, they established the United States Army on June 14th, 1775. Same day the oath was established. All right. June the 30th, 1775, War Articles, Military Law. Military law came long before the Constitution and long before the Declaration of Independence. The Navy, October 13th. The Marine Corps, November the 10th. The very first flag, December the 3rd, 1775. The Union Jack flag. Then you had, on June 14th, 1777, skipping ahead really fast just because it still parlays with the military first. The United States flag was sworn into Congress June 14th on the Army's birthday, the first branch, June 14th, 1777. 51 days later, it flew at the bloodiest battle of the Revolutionary War. The very first place it flew was in battle. Military first. So tell Colin Kaepernick to stand his ass up. All right? And whatever soldier that was during that time period that went on air with him, especially on Fox News, should be demoted, should lose rank, should lose everything. Rank, also privileges, benefits, etc. They should strip that person for going on there and saying that that was his constitutional right to sit there and bash and trash our foundation. That's where the First Amendment gets so misconstrued and butchered and twisted and manipulated. If your First Amendment doesn't support the foundation, it doesn't support our founders, it doesn't support our literature, it doesn't support our way of life, it's null and void. The same way as a law does to the Constitution, if a law doesn't reflect the Constitution and our foundation, it's void, so is your First Amendment. That's how that works. Good thing is, there's nothing these people can do to stop what's taking place right now. It don't matter how many gums are flapping, how many lips are jawing, it doesn't matter. God knows exactly what's going on right now. He's the one who has rallied all of us men and women who are fighting the good fight and fighting the good cause. He's the one doing that. And it tells you in the Bible that thousands will fall by the wayside, the ones who don't know what's going on. So if you know what's going on and you are a patriot, then all you got to do is stay consistent, keep your eyes on God, keep your eyes on the focus, and keep your eyes on the foundation. You're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. All this other stuff's going to fall by the wayside. It's going to fall. They can be saved if they want to be saved. But a lot of these people don't want to be saved. 1776, July the 4th, our founders declaring independence 7 years before the war ended. I mean, that's so brilliant. That would be, I don't even know, there's no comparison to that. They declared independence before the war ended, 7 years before the war ended. The Constitution drafted. So you had your Articles of Confederation, November the 15th, 1777, which was the first Constitution. Then they were just gonna kind of add on to that, but they wadded it up, put it aside, and they drafted the Constitution, September 17th, 1787. Then you had the Federalist Papers, which were from October 1787. So right after the Constitution was written, they started writing these Federalist Papers. All right, it was Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, John Jay, and a few others. So you got to go read this stuff. You got to read these. You got to read the Federalist Papers. They were supporting why the Constitution would be great for everybody else that didn't fight, mainly. All right, let's just be honest. It was for the general population who were in their houses hiding when the real war was going on. October 1787 to August 1788. So right before the Constitution was enacted in 1789. So, real great example. You have your liberals out there, they use the term democracy. Democracy, democracy, democracy. We're not a democracy. Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution says Republican form of government. That's why liberals look so atrocious right now. They don't even know that the Constitution actually says we're a Republican form of government. And nowhere in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, or the Bill of Rights is the word democracy mentioned. The only time you'll read about the word democracy, the one place, the one time you'll read it is in the Federalist Papers. That's it. Federalist Paper number 10, and I'm going to read a little bit of it right here. Not all of it, because it is long. But among the numerous advantages promised by a well-constructed union, none deserves to be more accurately developed than its tendency to break and control the violence of faction. The friend of popular governments never finds himself so much alarmed for their character and fate as when he contemplates their propensity to this dangerous vice. He will not fail, therefore, to set a due value on plan which, without violating the principles to which he attached, provides a proper cure for it. The instability, injustice, and confusion introduced into public councils have, in truth, been the mortal diseases under which popular governments have everywhere perished, as they continue to be the favorite and fruitful topics from which the adversaries to liberty derive their most specious declamations. The valuable improvements made by the American constitutions on the popular models, both ancient and modern, cannot certainly be too much admired. But it would be an unwarrantable partiality to contend that they have effectively obviated the danger on this side as wished and expected. Complaints are everywhere heard from our most considerate and virtuous citizens, equally the friends of public and private faith and of public and personal liberty, that our governments are too unstable, that the public good is disregarded in the conflicts of rival parties, and that measures are too often decided not according to the rules of justice and the rights of the minor party, so the minority, but by the superior force of an interested and overbearing majority. However anxiously we may wish that these complaints had no foundation, the evidence of known facts will not permit us to deny that there are some degree true. It will be found indeed on a candid review of our situation that some of the distresses under which we labor have been erroneously charged on the operation of our governments. But it will be found at the same time that other causes will not alone account for many of our heaviest misfortunes, and particularly for that prevailing and increasing distrust of public engagements and alarm for private rights, which are echoed from one end of the continent to the other. These must be chiefly, if not wholly, effects of the unsteadiness and injustice with which a factious spirit has tainted our public administrations. I love that word. But by a faction, I understand a number of citizens, whether amounting to a majority or a minority of the whole, who are united and actuated by some common impulse of passion or of interest adverse to the rights of other citizens or to the permanent and aggregate interests of the community. So it goes on and it talks about, it'll tell you in here, all you got to do is do this right here. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long. But you got to know the setup. And then it says, it'll come on down, it'll say by here, it says, but from this view of the subject, it may be concluded that a pure democracy, by which I mean a society consisting of a small number of citizens who assemble and administer the government in person, can admit of no cure for the mischiefs of fashion. It says, hence it is that such democracies have never been spectacles of turbulence and contention, have ever been found incompatible with personal security or the rights of property. But it'll go on down and say, let us examine some points in various of pure democracy, and we shall both comprehend both nature of the cure and the efficacy which it must derive from the union. But it'll say the two great points of difference between the democracy and republic are, first, the delegation of the government in the latter to a small number of citizens elected by the rest. Secondly, the number of citizens, the greater number of citizens and the greater sphere of country over which the latter may be extended. And then it'll tell you, they just pound it. They pound it in. The other point of difference, the greater number of citizens and extent of territory which may be brought within the compass of Republican than of the Democratic government. But it tells you that democracies are dangerous. So you got to go read Federalist Paper number 10. It is, they're all somewhat long, but whatever. You got to read them. All right. And then we'll read Federalist Paper, just some excerpts from Federalist Paper number 14, which Federalist Paper number 14, the whole thing needs to be read as well. But it annihilates democracies in Federalist Paper number 14. I'm talking about atrociously annihilates in a good way. So read Federalist Paper number 14 and you'll see that. All right. And then Federalist Paper number 20, which was Hamilton and Madison, they got together and wrote this one, says specifically, notwithstanding the calamities produced by the stockholdership, it has been supposed that without his influence in the individual provinces, the causes of anarchy manifest in the Confederacy would long ago have dissolved it. Then it says in quotations, under such government, end quote, says Abby Mabley, quote, the Union could never have subsisted if the provinces had not a spring within themselves capable of quickening their tardiness and compelling them to the same way of thinking. Well, the spring is the stockholder, and it tells you that. Well, that's like a duke or a king or, any kind of leader of a group of people. I mean, they roast democracies in here. Roast them. So, therefore, again, if you want to know how our founders think, then you probably want to know what? Their literature. I mean, it's self-explanatory. All right, so right now, the thing that I see the most consistency with are people who, don't want to read and study what's public knowledge. Now, knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. So there's that. So, when there's an unequivocal proof, people demand unequivocal proof without the actual literature. It don't work that way. If you want unequivocal proof, then you got to go read and study what it is that provides that. So like right here, again, you don't have to like what's going on. You could be one of those people who don't like it, but you still need to know this is exactly what's going on. Bylaws and orders. You should like it because it's only draining the swamp, ridding corruption, and all these other things. But people only do what? They think money is the root of all evil. Money's not the root of all evil. The lust of money is the root of all evil. It says people don't know terminology anymore either. People don't know how to use words and terminology because we what? That word tainted, I love the word tainted that they use that in our foundation. Like tainted. We've tainted education. It's all taint. Because we put stock into feelings and emotions and all this other bullshit. It's exactly what it is. I got a gift this week. See that little thing back here, this little thing? It says specifically, everyone was thinking it, I just said it. All right, well, that's exactly what I do. You have to put everything in perspective, but you also have to tell what's in place. All right? So all this feelings and emotions and all this, we had to educate this, that, and other, just like this. If you're gay, you're gay. Right? If you're born gay, you're gay. So if you got a group of 40 people in a classroom, all right, and only one of them in there is gay, or two of them, why does the other 39 or 38 have to be educated on the fact that they're gay? If you're born gay, you're just gay. All right? If you have an idiot acting like an idiot that don't know how to live and let live, if you're going to a yoga class, well, you being gay or Buddhist or atheist don't have anything with you getting on the floor and stretching and singing Kumbaya. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Right? So if you can't just fit in society and be an adult and live and let live and don't put your feelings or emotions or your thoughts or perspectives on everybody else, your personal, then boom. Well, we have to have laws and orders because we have to what? We have to share the highways. We have to share bridges. We have all these things that we have to share. Right? They got to get paid somehow. Someone has to pay for it. They don't just fix themselves. Potholes don't fit themselves. Drive across Louisiana. You'll find out potholes don't fix themselves. And Louisiana ain't fixing potholes either. Go figure. And guess who pays for the potholes in Louisiana? It's supposed to be all them casinos they got. They says that the casinos fund education, the law enforcement, and the roads in Louisiana. Well, the roads ain't fixed. So the schools better be jam up, and the law enforcement better be riding around in Rolls Royces. They ain't doing that, and the schools are all crap in Louisiana, so where's the money going? Bingo. So you have to have laws and orders that works for everybody. And there's a way to live and let live with your personal beliefs without putting your personal agenda on people, but there's a way to have a government that's small, on a federal level that works for everybody, state governments that are more efficient and effective for whatever state you want to live in, and then the state laws. All right, so there's a way to have it. There's a way to live and let live, but we do have to have a foundation and a structure and a discipline. We have to. With a population of 340 million and growing, we have to. Because if everybody was allowed to put the law into their hands, what would happen? You'd have some Billy Bob Bubba from the South that don't like you just because some old redneck hillbilly bumpkin may think you're some kind of lizard reptilian that came out, and you might just be a Republican who likes pink hair. You might actually be one of the rarities that likes pink hair. And old redneck Bubba, who's been locked up in Stockholm, Mississippi, right in the middle of nowhere, ain't never seen your ass before, and you come out looking like an old reptilian, and he goes, "Bam! Got one, Daddy!" Right? And that was a Republican. You see? So if you don't have a law and order, then people take laws and orders into their hands. Well, the population of 340 million people, there'd be a lot of Barney Fives out there walking around with their little single bullet, ready to use that little bullet for no apparent reason. So see, you have to have structure and discipline. You have to have someone who can handle the pandemonium and the chaos and go, okay, look, they think different than you, but they're not affecting anybody but themselves and their friends and their little group. They're not same thing with Fox News. My dad and I were talking about this the other day. Fox News, way back in the 90s, put on one out of 300 million population at that time period. They put one guy on Fox News because he was offended that the quarter had "In God We Trust" on it. Why did they give him publicity? No one would have ever known about this turd if this dude would have not been given the publicity by Fox News. So see, it's the power of things like that. They abuse their power. These networks, these syndicated TV networks, they abuse their power and authority because it's syndicated. They had a closed caption audience captured. That's what that means. So then you have people write in about the corporation. Well, isn't the corporation, isn't it executive, everything that's going on right now, isn't it corporation? You're missing the point, people. You're missing the beautiful, beautiful strategic operation that President Trump is using with the corporate laws. But no, executive orders are not corporation. They've been around since our foundation. The word citizen, been around since our foundation. Anybody who says otherwise, they're trying to write their own script and brainwash and control you in a whole different manner. That's a real cult by definition. So what President Trump is doing, really fast before we get to Iran and one other topic I'm going to talk about today and then we'll be done. But what President Trump's doing, and the generals, President Trump, if you think, again, get this in your skulls, whoever you are out there, if this is you. If you think President Trump did all this simply because he's an outsider and he talks differently, and he won the vote, and this, if you think that President Trump did this as a regular president, you're doing yourself an injustice. Just because it hasn't been validated completely yet doesn't mean a thing. And also tying into that, 9 years, 10 years, if it took 15 years, if it took 20 years, it doesn't matter. 15 years, 10 years, 20 years out of your lifetime, with what you've lived under your whole life and the bullshit and the corruption that you've been living under your whole life, and you've never had an efficient and effective government at a small level, but state governments as well, work for you the people, which is actually us working. So to be like, we the people, right? We the people. If you're just a follower and you got a representative, well, they represent you, so they're working for you, even though you're the government. That's how that works. That's how it was prescribed. All right? But if you don't know what's going on, you can't demand them anything by what you're actually supposed to do. That's why we're sitting here having to have these conversations over and over and over again. When President Trump said we're taking the power out of D.C. and giving it back to you, the people, can't turn it back to the people if you don't know what the hell's going on. We can't just, it'd be pointless. With 340 million population and the way the liberals believe out there, it would be right back to it if you, the people, don't start reading, studying, and comprehending the three branches of government, how they function, how they operate, how does Congress work, what do senators do, what do House Representatives do. If you don't learn that, it's going to be right back to the same bullcrap swamp that you've always had, because discipline, structure, etiquette, protocol, honesty, transparency, responsibility, accountability, all those terms start with teaching. They start, like the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go and he won't depart. Well, look at all the people who didn't get trained with etiquette, decency, standards, protocol, principles, accountability, response. You're seeing that now. You're seeing the fruits of people who did not raise their children and discipline their children, and also the ones that just got out in society. Maybe they were raised right, but then they turned around and flipped on everybody. You're seeing the results of people who were not disciplined or punished. You're seeing the kids who lay down in the grocery store and kick and fuss and lick the floor, the dirty, nasty floor. You're seeing the ones, the parents are going, well, we can sit here all day, but yank their ass up and spank that ass. All right, that's what you got to do. The people out here who see your children doing that, I would rather hear your child crying over their ass being whooped than laying there crying because they don't want to get up off the floor because you won't buy them a toy. They're still crying. Crying is the root word of the principle. If they're going to cry, let them cry because you put a switch on their ass or your hand on their ass because they don't have discipline at home, and that's why they're acting that way in the store, because you don't discipline them. My mom never had to spank me because all she had to do was get in my ear and say, if you don't straighten up, we're going to go right over here to this bathroom over here, and I'm going to spank you in there where no one sees you, but Mama's going to discipline. So see, I never had to be spanked because I listened. I was actually a good child. I actually listened. I didn't even have to press the limits because I knew better, because I knew what Mama would do. I knew what Daddy would do. Look at what we have today. That's why we look the way we look. We have a bunch of people who didn't have any discipline, any structure in their household. But what's even more crazy about it is a lot of people out there who didn't have a mom or a dad, who were adopted, they act better and they're more appreciative of life than some of these people who actually did grow up in spoiled households with everything handed to them. We have more people. We have a jacked up society. We have a jacked up society because of people and their mindsets and their discipline wasn't there. So it had to be a top-down operation. So what you're witnessing is a top-down operation by older generations who still know our foundation, still know the principles, still know discipline, still knows that the discipline works. Like Roosevelt said, you speak softly and you carry a big stick. Peace through strength. All right, when you're a disciplinary and you put your foot down, other people, you'll have them going, oh, I better not say something around them. They'll knock my head off or they'll do this. Exactly. When we were in school, I was one of the last generations. Didn't have cell phones in schools, nothing like that. Still wrote the little love letters and all that. When you walked around, if there was a bully or anybody like that, depending on what it was and who it was, you didn't say anything unless you were ready to fight for it. Now with social media, people just say what they want. They say they're all in the no repercussions, no anything. We got to get control of that as well. If it were me, we wouldn't have social media right now. There'd be a lot of people learning how to cope without a phone like this always in their face. You'd be learning how to cope, boy. You'd be learning quick. It'd be like people that ain't had a cigarette, in a few days, and they're like, they look like a zombie. Yeah, a lot of your children look like a zombie right now. If I were the commander-in-chief. So you better be thankful that President Trump and the generals and all these people are doing it the way they're doing it, because there's some people like me, you wouldn't even have a cell phone. You'd be going back to old landline. You'd be going back to old knocking on the door and going, hey, you got a spatula I can borrow? You know, you got a wheelbarrow I can borrow? You'd be going back to some old school communication if I were your commander-in-chief. All right? I can live without my phone. Ask people who try to text me. Ask people who try to text me how long it takes me to get back to them sometimes. What President Trump's doing, he's taking all the literature from the modern Congresses and using it against them. It's a reverse psychology if you want to look at it from that standpoint. If you don't know military language yet, it's reverse psychology. If you know a little bit of military, it's a counter psyop. It's not a psyop, it's a counter. They're countering everything that they've done to people. So President Trump, for example, you have the Presidential Emergency Action Documents and your continuity of government, right? Eisenhower established those as prescribed by there. When a president declared a national emergency, it wasn't supposed to be passed down to the next president. It's a national emergency for a reason. So when Eisenhower established that, also a 5-star general, when he established it as prescribed by the law, there's a term people lose right there, straight out the gate, as prescribed by the law. When a president declared a national emergency, this was before the 73 Amendment to the War Powers Act, so keep in mind we're getting there. But when President Eisenhower established the continuity of government and the Presidential Emergency Action Documents, when in a national emergency, national emergencies, proclamations, treaties, and also executive orders were established, it wasn't supposed to be passed down. It was a national emergency for a reason. It was important. You're declaring a national emergency, as the word says. A national emergency that's been continued for 44 years, like the Iranian executive order by Jimmy Carter in 79, all the way up to 2024, when it was continued again, ain't supposed to look like that. It's not an emergency anymore. It's called propaganda. It's called, quote unquote, deep state diplomacy. What were the back end kicks on that? All right, so when you seek to understand what President Trump is using with this right here, it'll click like that. It's a reverse of everything. He's taken all their literature against them. He's beating them with their own literature and beating them at their own quote-unquote game. Now, I don't like using the word game sometimes until people understand it's an operation, because it's not a game. Military, anything with military lives, life and death is not a game. But if you can use it in the right kind of context, he's beating them at their own game, meaning that, yeah, he told everybody, yeah, I'm a threat to their democracy, because we're not a democracy. You got to listen to the man. You got to go study the man, study the literature, study the military literature, study the Constitution, study all the things that's being used. Put it together. But I've already done that. See, I did all that work for you. So that's what this is for. 596. This is part 2, 596. I've already done all the work for you. You ain't got to do it. You don't have to go Google all these laws and orders. You don't have to go try to piece it all together. It's already been done for you. And if you can't afford those books, all over my social media, it's there. You just have to piece it together that way, but write it down. Write it in order. It's going to be a lot of pages. It's going to be 596 of them, but it's all there. So the War Powers Act of 73, that's why you hear me talk about it all the time. That's when Congress amended it. They made it to where a president had to declare a national emergency to use the military. So President Trump is using them at their own game, their own literature. So it wouldn't matter if it was deep state corporate literature. He's using it against them. Flip the script. So let's talk about Iran. All right. So you got all the liberals right now, all these liberals out there. Oh, this is Donald Trump and Rhino too. The woman who is on his religious team. She don't know her head from a hole in the ground. All right. She needs to stick to beauty pageants and all that other stuff she was doing. You know, again, I'm not here for a popularity contest. All right. If you don't know the Commander-in-Chief's blueprint, laws, and orders, that person overstepped what they are actually been assigned to do. If you're on the president's prayer team, pray for the president. You don't need to be putting out, oh, I'm on the president's prayer team. I can speak up now, and I can put my picture with Donald Trump, and I can go boom, boom, boom. No. You need to know your lane, know your role. Because if I was a president, your ass would be fired. Anybody who did that, spoke like that, all of a sudden, not our war, you'd be fired. Effective immediately. Pack your bags and get your butt out of town. That's what you'd be doing. So all these rhinos and never Trumpers this past week, not our war, atrocious. But especially the ones who are influencers. All right, there. Got all these millions of followers and all these people. It's not your role, it's not your duty to, quote-unquote, question the president, especially when you don't know any of the literature by the man. You followers have got to stop following these people. Stop forgiving them. President Trump's already told you this. He said when the swamp would fire someone, they would just put them in another position. They just replace them, but not replace them in their position. Yeah, they got replaced in their position, but then they would place them somewhere else. Meaning replace in another kind of context. Put them over here. They never got rid of these swamp people. So you have a guy who's all of a sudden, or a gal who was in finance one day. The next day they're over here in a national security strategy. It's like, oh, you sucked in finance. Well, maybe you know something about defense. I mean, this is, President Trump tells you without telling you. Because you're an adult. You have to put this together yourself as well. And so many people out there still want to be a little silver spoon. Here you go, open your mouth. Like the little birds on my porch out here. I have a bird's nest on my porch. And the little bird, I watch the birds all the time. Come in there and feed the little birds. And all you see is the little beaks up in there. Ah. Boop. That's what a lot of quote-unquote patriots look like. And if a patriot looks that atrocious, we don't even have to talk about Republicans and conservatives. My God, dude. If a patriot looks that way, not our war. You don't even know the laws and the orders that are invoked that outline a strategic operation. It's an operation, not a war. Not a deep state war. The Declaration is a war order, but it's an operation. And again, President Trump, the first moment he does anything that replicates the swamp, all of it's null and void. So if you believe in President Trump, after you've seen the Bushes go away, Obamas go away, Hillary go away, all these people who aren't seeking re-election, you've missed all these people in the states for the last 10 years not seek re-election. Look at all the things that's happened. Look at your gas, look at your cost of everything, look at everything that's taken place. Look at everything, look at all the list of accomplishments he has. That's different than the swamp. If you're still in a state of mind that thinks that he's not, and thinks one little thing, you're missing the whole operation. You haven't drained your swamp. Because one time he replicates anything that looks like the deep state, it's all null and void. One executive order, one with Iran, proves that President Trump wasn't starting a war. And when you know the laws and orders in place, along with this executive order, and everything else around it, you would know that. So all these people who went out there, Candace Owens, all these other people, look at all these people who voiced out about the military and all these other things. God help us. Why would you support that? Why would you support someone like that? Oh, they made a mistake. That's why you're where you are. That's why Americans, you forgive too easy. There's a difference in forgiving and forgetting. You can forgive someone, but don't forget it. You don't follow these people. They're misleading thousands of people when there's a solid blueprint in place. And just because President Trump hasn't validated my blueprint, it's not my blueprint from the standpoint of the laws and orders. I didn't write these laws and orders. Put together, it's not. And it's still ongoing. The continuity of government, we're still in a partial continuity of government, June 29th, 2025. Until there is a full revocation of that executive order, then we're still in operation. If you can't handle the bumps that are sometimes distractions, some of these are distraction pieces, sometimes they're not. Right? But sometimes the distraction pieces, if you can't handle that, you're not cut out for this, boo-boo. Hop off the train. Find something else. Go play golf. Go to the beach. Go hiking. Go hunting. Go fishing. Go skydiving. Go do something. But I'm going to tell you, like the influencers, don't put it in timestamp. Don't put it out there. Once you put something in writing and put it out there, especially on the internet, it's there. And I have a team of people screenshotting everything for the walk of shame. You want to be a warrior? Act like a warrior. If you want to act like a warrior, you probably need to know warrior manna. That's the manna right there. Executive Order 12170, 1979. Jimmy Carter Do you know before 1979 that women in Iran were stylish women? They didn't have to wear their burqa and all the other stuff. Did you know that? Did you know that women were actually walking around high heels, makeup, earrings, etc.? And then in 1979, they called that a republic. That was what's funny. It's a reversal. They call what's taking place right now a republic. They call the Iran right now a republic. And before that, they had a Shah, which was basically like a king. All right. Did you know that? Most women don't know that. And if you're a liberal out there who actually stumbles on this, or you can tell your liberal friends, never again should they ever utter the words women's rights or equal rights for women if they don't support the freedom and liberation of Iranian women, of what's been going on in Iran. Now, I know that all that's crumbling, but still, until they believe it and see it, not an utter should be out of their mouth. Same thing about all these people with 2020. You didn't stand up for the children then, you can shut the you-know-what up about everything else. Because you didn't fight when it counted. Now it's like the Mark Twain quote. What you're seeing now is a lot of regurgitation. You've seen a lot of people out there now regurgitating what people like me have already been through, all the scrutiny and the hell, and people trying to steal my trademark, trying to fake text messages. Now, the quote Mark Twain says, in the beginning of change, the patriot is scorned, hated, ridiculed, and mocked. But when his cause succeeds, the timid will join him because it then costs nothing to be a patriot. Now, the goal in the end, absolutely, is world peace and calm and solace and getting along and living and let live. A true republic. However, again, that's how we prevent people from getting into positions and then starting their own little cult or brainwashing you or tricking you into something else. You got to be able to identify that. So Obama's great Iran deal on .gov site tells you that Fordo was not even supposed to have anything whatsoever. In his deal now, Fordo, the one that became the subject piece, which is on purpose, all strategic. Fordo is the most talked about. Iran, Fordo, Iran. Obama's great deal, Fordo was not supposed to have any enrichment whatsoever. And Obama's great deal specifically said 3.67% enrichment. So do you believe the generals? The generals said that we're at 83.7% enrichment out of 90% total. The International Atomic, that agency says same thing, that Iran has been working on their enrichment. All right. Yahoo News, Yahoo, traditionally been liberal in the past. Yahoo puts out an article yesterday. I posted it today. What does it say? That the UN ambassador to Iran says it will be okay, according to officials, if Iran transfers 20 to 60% of enrichment. If the liberals out there spewing that, oh, President Trump's just doing all this where he could start a war, push a button, or do this or that, command something to look big. If Yahoo is telling you that Iran can transfer 20 to 60% enrichment, how do you get 20 to 60% out of 3.67%? Is that Common Core math? Is that what that is? I'm pretty sure that's Common Core math. That's no other math that I've ever learned. How can you transfer 20 to 60% of something if there's only 3%? See how stupid? See how stupid? You have to use the word stupid. Look at all these rhinos this week who look stupid. Because now, I love this. This is so funny. So here's this nation who's been chanting death to Israel and death to America for 40 years while they stockpiled their nuclear weapons. See, people would say, well, they've been chanting all this time. They ain't done anything. They've been stockpiling nuclear weapons. The big boy, the big bomb. Death to America. Death to Israel. They chanted this, and the first thing they say is that we're gonna come back and get you legally. Oh, that's so hilarious. So freaking hilarious. Death to America! Death to Israel! We're gonna come back and get you. We're coming after you legally. That's what Iran has said. And then they told the U.S., we're going to send some missiles in at 1 o'clock tomorrow. All we did was display that our what? Air and missile defense, my unit from the military, my MOS, air and missile defense. All we did was get to show you that guess what capabilities we also have. We can shoot down your missiles. We can intercept missiles. You've been watching it. Everybody's been watching it, but now you finally were told that. It was disclosed that Iran said, we're going to shoot some missiles at you at 1 o'clock tomorrow. And then we're going to come after you legally. Woo, I'm scared. I'm shaking in my boots. I mean, this stuff, it is that, it is that humorous. Also, once you know what's in laws and orders, and once you learn a little bit of strategic operations, special operations, unconventional warfare, irregular warfare, once you learn that, and once you see this, you're going to be over there laughing, going, death to Israel, death to America, we're going to come after you, we're going to tell you tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we're going to shoot some missiles at you, and we're going to come after you legally after that. I mean, it's... So my question for the rhinos is this. If there's a rhino listening, where were you when we declared war with Yemen? Because there's a declaration, March the 15th and May the 6th, 2025. We were bombing the hell out of Yemen. Where were you then? Why weren't you saying, not our war then? Why weren't you posting then? Where were you? Okay, I mean, there's a declaration. The Houthis, Yemen, Iranian backed, same group of people. Where were you then? And then how come you missed when quote unquote Joe had the State of the Union address, right? How come that, and then also his quote unquote farewell? Remember during his farewell, the quote unquote farewell, because it wasn't really Joe, it's all actor, it's all puppet government, all part of the continuity government. History's going to account for this dash, baby. History's going to account for that dash. Right? It's all laws and orders, all military strategies. Remember during the quote-unquote farewell speech? I am proud to announce there's not any troops anywhere in the nation in conflict. In the same week, we were bombing the hell out of a target. And then you had the group of guys, I think they were Marine Corps. They were in Iraq or Afghanistan. I can't remember where they were, but they had this group of guys, and they're like in their fob, they're in their little barrack, and they're like on their video, and they're going, "Where the hell are we? How are we over here?" Then you had October the 7th, 2023. You had quote unquote Kamala telling the whole world that we don't have any U.S. troops. There's no U.S. troops in Israel, and there won't be any. And the whole time I'm showing you U.S. troops in Israel. Where were you rhinos then? Where were you? Were you giving yourself tonsillectomies because your head's so far up your ass? I mean, it's the only place you could be. Because, again, they've shown you over and over again without telling you, because now's not disclosure time, now's not revelation time. They've told you and showed you that this is all a military operation. Your lack of understanding of military terms is one reason, because most of you weren't in the military. That's okay. But then government is your business. Government terms are your business. You're supposed to know government terms. You can know government terms. You can know laws and orders. You can know unique laws and orders. They're all public. Ukraine. President Trump got Russia to go into Ukraine. Perfect, because the United States Department of Defense in 2003, there's an article in The Guardian and The Hill and a bunch of them back then, but there's a U.S. Department of Defense was funding the biolabs in Ukraine. Way back in early 2000s, so that would be Bush, which we all know. All right, then passed over to whom? Obama. Obama declared a national emergency in Executive Order 13660 in March of 2014. He had 3 executive orders in March 2014 alone. He had another one in, I think it was October of 2014 with Ukraine. Four executive orders with Ukraine in 1 year. Unusual and extraordinary threats. What's in Ukraine that would be unusual, extraordinary threat? Why would we be defending them? Why would we be saying, hey, where were you rhinos? All the rhinos out there and never Trumpers and the quote, some patriots, not all. Talking about Obama's the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. Biden's not doing anything, but we're still funding Ukraine. Why are we funding Ukraine? You didn't see a single exchange of money going to Ukraine. You ain't seen anything out of Ukraine. Where are all out of 60 million smartphones in Ukraine? Where's the footage from civilians over there? Why is it some civilian being a rebel like all these social media whores today? Have you not seen all the social media whores? Get on Instagram. Instagram is the best place to see social media whores. In Facebook story. Look at all the people who will film someone drowning or a car in a ditch being flooded by water. Look at the people who will film that before they'll actually get out there and help. So look at what social media has done in your everyday life. Then apply. Where is one rebel? Just one. One rebel going, I don't care if I get caught, FBI, CIA, they can't touch me over here. I'm going to release this video of Ukraine and this. Where's the footage? Where's civilian footage? Where is it? Have you seen my new book? Have you seen back here where I put in there the let's see if I can find it really quick. The chicks in Ukraine, and they're on Instagram, and they look like Instagram models, like all the other U.S. girls over here in their OnlyFans accounts, with their little Bible verse up there. Old Delilah and old Jezebel, but they got their little Bible verse up there, and they're misleading all these guys with all their naked pictures and all that bull crap. And these old girls over here in Ukraine, they look just like it. They look identical to them. It's insane. See if I can find some of those pictures. They're hard to find in this big old book because I forget where I put them. But people who's bought the book, they already know what I'm talking about. But you got all these quote unquote whatever they are, they're calling themselves in the military. Let's see, 2022. Let's see if I can find some of them. It'll be hard to find them. See if I can find it. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what part I put it in, but all you gotta do is just look them up. I got them all over my social media. It's the most humorous thing you'll ever see in your life. Oh, here we go. Found them. Look at this. It says, let's see if I can find the one with that. Because all you older women, no offense, but all you women, I've made all the jokes about, what was it? Designing Women. You remember that TV show? I said, look at there. Look at old Tina. So look at these women. Does that look like a real soldier to you? Look at her posing with her AK-47 and look at them kissing the gun. They could have a career on Instagram. All they got to do is just launch an OnlyFans and get some dumb redneck Bubba who's in his, like this dude right here. This is the fun. He looks like, we're going to say that we're going to perch up right there. We're going to catch them coming through there like old Napoleon. We're going to bust their ass when they come through there. I mean, these people that they show in their uniforms are all jacked up. Have you ever seen Ukraine's uniforms? Actually, every military has a uniform where they all are cohesive and they look the same. These people, come on, people. You're doing our military an injustice if you believe all this bull crap. All right? So, it's good bull crap, though, because it's an operation. So President Trump said all roads lead to Obama in a post. So I decry again all these people out there who claim to be patriots, Republicans, conservatives. Well, you want justice, but when President Trump puts up a post and in the bottom here it says Joe Biden has been executed in 2020, and then you revert to saying stuff like, oh, he don't know the difference in a post and a repost. He didn't mean to post that with that there. Are you serious right now? Like, I mean, I try to bite from using the word stupid, but are you really that stupid? Are you really that stupid? But, I mean, I feel for the little grandmas and the little grandpas out there who are doing everything they can to stay up with social media. But if you sit on your phone today and you know how to log into Facebook, and you don't even have to log in because you just click on the little emoji and it's already there, and you're there, the icon and all that, and if you're in today's social media and you're saying that, if you know how to share a post, if you know how to repost something, if you know how to screenshot something, whatever, if you are that advanced at technology and you think that the most popular man in the world, the most hated man in the world, the most ridiculed man in the world, the most mocked man in the world, just all of a sudden shared something, who's the first president to use social media like he did to get to certain people, if you think that man made a mistake with a post like that, you need to get off the internet. You don't need to be on the internet. You're the one that needs to go delete account, delete, and then only have a little flip phone that you can call your children, your grandchildren, or either your moms, your dads, whoever, whatever age you are. You need to quit. You're the one that has the issue. You're the one that has a clicking problem up here because it ain't clicking. And if that's me being a horse's ass and being rude, then so be it. But someone has to be the one that says, do you really think that this man who is the most hated with a group of people that will be exonerated? Oh, he'll be exonerated. But if you think that this man posted something and he didn't know the difference in a post, it doesn't matter if you can see it. He knows exactly what he's doing. So then he puts up he goes 45-47-48 on a post recently. He's put up all roads lead to Obama. All roads lead to Obama. And on the all roads lead to Obama, guess what it said on there? It wasn't his post, it was someone else's. He reposted someone else's as his. It says all roads lead to Obama, and it says share if you want to see these people in military tribunals. So why weren't you, all you rhinos out there, you never Trumpers and you quote unquote patriots who, I don't know if I believe that all of a sudden, that Joe Biden was executed. Where were you then? Why didn't a military tribunal? Do you know what a tribunal is? It's a military court. That's all it is. It sounds cooler because we call them different things. Where weren't you losing your mind then? Oh, he didn't mean to post that. Oh, because you want justice. Because you want justice, that gave you a little glimmer to hang on to and a little bit of hope to hang on to. Is that what it was? Because you don't want to read laws and orders, you don't want to seek to comprehend what he's using. So see, President Trump gives you tidbits all along the way. And look at the people who jump ship and don't have to. Same ones who jump ship with Iran. All of a sudden, no war, nothing, complete devastation. It was all pre-planned. All this is pre-planned. And you know it's pre-planned if you knew what a continuity of government is and a presidential emergency action document. It's all pre-planned. But see, you can't know the bigger picture until you know the bigger picture. So you can't know the little picture if you don't know the big. Yeah, So, article right now on the .gov site as we speak. I didn't post about it yet. I'm going to tonight, but court to allow California to obtain evidence regarding deployment of federalized National Guard and Marines. So a lot of quote-unquote patriots, you're still guilty of following people. You're also still guilty of getting in the comment box and saying certain things because it just feeds to the algorithm. good, bad, or indifferent, it feeds to the algorithm. And it keeps that person, especially if they're an idiot, more visible. Unfollow them. Do not comment, unfollow them. That simple. So this week they showed Jasmine Crockett and Bernie Sanders. Jasmine Crockett has gone in a storm because she's all ghetto and she's what we call a jive ass in the South. You know, like all ebonics, right? Talking about, well, I'm the one. If I'm the one. I'd be the one that need to know what's going on. I'd be the one that says what the Congress is supposed to do. I'd be the one that's supposed to say that. That's what a jive ass is. All right. It's not racist. It just is what it is. All right. Ebonics. All right. That's just straight up uneducation talking right there. I'd be the one that need to know what's going on. I'd be the one that's supposed to have to say so with this. All right. Well, I can speak that because I grew up around jive. I grew up around ebonics. I know that language, all right? I'm from the civil rights state itself, all right? I grew up not far from the Edmund Pettus Bridge itself. I grew up with that, and I grew up with a daddy white as all get out who's picked more cotton than most people ever picked in their life. So I can talk this language, all right? I speak Forrest Gump. I know Forrest Gump language. I am well educated in the Forrest Gump language. Greenbow, Alabama. All right, I know some jive-ass language because we all grew up in it down here. It's called ebonics. It's called Southern slang. All right. Well, there's old jive-ass over here saying what she said. Then you got Bernie Sanders over here saying that, it's unconstitutional. And that, all this stuff's unconstitutional. And there's acting like a dictator. Then you have Bannon's people attacking me at one time. Steve Bannon, who President Trump said had nothing to do with his presidency. And why do you people, you rhinos, not you people, not you patriots, but why do you rhinos still support these clowns? President Trump gives them a nickname. Then he says they're nothing to do with me, and rhinos still supporting them. I mean, which one is it? Is it President Trump or is it this one? It makes no sense. You're missing the point of draining the swamp. Why do you support people who replicate the swamp? So I had Bannon's people saying, Derek Jonhson, Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. One of them was so incompetent. Everybody remembers this that's followed me. This person's so incompetent that they said Title 50, Chapter 33, said Chapter 33 is not the War Powers Act. This person's that incompetent. They want attention that bad. But see, they don't realize, just like everything else, patriots who are awake are tired of that bullcrap. They're tired of it. They're tired of social media whores who just want attention. So all you rhinos out there, you got to follow suit as well. If you think what I'm saying is all bullcrap, go read the laws and orders. You'll find out it's not. And if you claim to be a President Trump supporter and you're saying it's all BS, and you go read it, you're going to be having your little tail tucked between your legs, and you're going to be going in a hole, and I'm going to be there with a cowboy boot pushing your ass in there, going, get on in there. Your ass is still hanging out. Get your ass in there, all the way in the hole. And I'm going to bring a shovel, and I'm going to make sure the hole's covered up. That way your ass is not exposed anymore, and you're looking like an ass to the rest of the world. You don't want someone walking in some random field and seeing some ass sticking out of it going, what the heck is that? No, I'll make sure dirt's over it, and you don't look like a complete idiot anymore. All right, if you think what I'm saying is a drag out and all I'm dragging out to fit a narrative, go read the laws and orders. You want to prove me wrong, go read them and try to prove me wrong. It's not going to work that way because laws and orders don't work. They don't work like that way. So, again, so you got this clown over here, incompetent, who was saying Chapter 33, you go over to .gov. Go to .gov, house.gov, your House representative. Go over there and look. Title 50, War and National Defense. Chapter 33, War Powers Act of 1973. If someone is that incompetent that they say Chapter 33 of Title 50 is not the War Powers Act, how in the hell are they on Real America's Voice and all these other places? How? That is how ignorant people are. But it's beyond ignorant. At least ignorance means you're dumb to the fact. And if you're given the fact, you can correct that. Incompetence is like President Trump said with the swamp. He said, we have stupid people who are incompetent, meaning that they are completely oblivious, don't know what the hell's going on, as he says. And then there's stupid smart ones. They know what's going on, but they choose to be stupid. But these people are stupid incompetent. And then you had Laura Logan. Laura Logan, who's out there at one point, shares this post of some low-level idiot out there who says that civil military operations are against the law, against the Constitution, against our foundation. Laura Logan sharing some little person who barely had any followers because they hated my guts, because they hadn't read or studied anything. I mean, then you apply Alex Jones, you apply Tucker Carlson, you apply Candace Owen, telling the military not to take unlawful orders. You got to know what laws are in the first place to even know what could be an unconstitutional order. You got to know that first. So look at all these atrocious people who have no clue what's going on. Not a clue. By laws and orders of the man they claim to support. And you think I'm going to lose sleep over calling these idiots out? At this point where we are, this should have happened, 2022, no, not even then. It really should have been 2020, somewhere in there. But I wasn't around in 2020. Not for you. So see, God put me here for a reason. I haven't been bought, not compromised. I've been consistent from day one. Laws and orders by President Donald John Trump. And I'm a veteran. I'm a retired veteran. All right? It's that simple. You got people out there, you had a certain small, tiny little group of people about like that, real hairline, claim that I trash veterans and I don't know what I'm talking about and I didn't serve long enough and all these other things. Well, if I didn't serve long enough, how is it that I know more about the military than you did, Mr. 15, 20, 25 years? You only look even more atrocious. So see, all these people out there with that entitlement and these entitlements and all that stuff, they look atrocious. Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, like a broken record. When you hear Bernie Sanders, Jasmine Crockett, anybody, all that, unconstitutional, unlawful, a Democratic-controlled House under President Donald John Trump introduced the war order December the 20th, 2019, and it was passed by a Republican Senate. Title 50 is the legislative branch, not the executive branch. It's that simple. Every single executive order that President Trump's using right now, and every order that's in place for the military right now, is up under that Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. Because it tells you specifically. And I'll read it again. Section 1550, reports and briefings on use of military force and support of partner forces. Not later than 180 days after December the 20th, 2019, and every 180 days thereafter, the President shall submit to the Congressional Defense Committees, the Committee on Foreign Relations of the Senate, and the Committee on Foreign Affairs of the House of Representatives, a report on actions taken pursuant to the authorization for use of military force against those countries or organizations described in such law, as well as any actions taken to command, coordinate, participate in the movement of, or accompany the regular or irregular military forces of any foreign country or government when such forces are engaged in hostilities or in situations where the imminent involvement in hostilities is clearly indicated by the circumstances during the preceding 180 period. So they cover it. First 180 days, every 180 days thereafter, and then the report will come during the preceding 180 days. Pre, not post, pre. So when you hear Jasmine Crockett and Bernie and all these, even though it's distraction pieces, but for the normies out there, if you still have a normie friend or a family member you're still trying to help and help them see the light, as I say this, you got to show them that. And say, well, and then as prescribed by also Title 50, President Trump on WhiteHouse.gov right now, he has his letter to the House and the Senate the use of military force is there. As prescribed, says 48 hours after. It says no later than 48 hours after the use of military, President does that. It's in another form of Title 50. All you got to know. I mean, it don't get any more. It don't get any easier than that. Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1. It's 1543, letter A. Go look it up. It's all there. So all you got to know are the laws and orders. I mean, it sounds like a broken record. Laws and orders, laws and orders, laws and orders, laws and orders. But if President Trump was doing all this without laws and orders, do you know what it would do? It would be the same swamp rhetoric. Because you know what's not found in Title 50, Chapter 33 of the War Powers Act? You know what's not there? In all of Title 50, Chapter 33, and I hope Bannon's people and all of them are watching, you incompetent idiots. All throughout Title 50, Chapter 33, not one time will you find the word Obama in there. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. So then you go to joint publication, Laura Logan. Hope you're listening, if you're even real. You know, especially all them. Anyway, you want to talk about them fake lips you got and all that shit. But all right, you go to joint publication 3-57, page 46. You've heard me say this before. Joint publication 3-57. It's titled Civil Military Operations. That dash also matters. Chapter 2, letter A. I know it by memory, but I'm going to read it just because. Per the Posse Comitatus Act and the Department of Defense regulations, the United States is generally prohibited, Laura Logan, generally prohibited from employing Title 10, United States Code, Department of Defense forces to provide direct military involvement to enforce the law of the United States unless expressly authorized by the Constitution or Congress. Spaghetti-o. You shouldn't have ever put that in timestamp because I screenshot that and timestamped it. Your incompetence for the world to see that you don't know anything about this man, that you put your little nose up his ass and you shake your head around on that little brown thing after they put that little brown spot right here on your nose. You don't know anything about the man you claim to support and that you brown nose and you ass kiss. See, I'm like Kid Rock. When he called out Bruce Springsteen, he said, yeah, I didn't have as many hits as he did because I don't kiss the ass of program directors out there. See, well, you got to know what a program director is, and you got to know the process and procedure of having a hit song. So same thing. I don't brown nose. I am following the direct laws and orders by the man. These people don't know the laws and orders, and all they do is want a name, they want a face, and they built up all these big numbers on their platform. So guess what President Trump has done? He's used some of them as pawns because they have big numbers, and you got to get to the people. Same thing I did. I went on a lot of programs in 2022, 2023, 2024 to get to the people. People is what matters. It's not all the haters. It's not all the trolls. It's not all the naysayers. It's not all that. They'll fall by the wayside. All I have to do is do what I've been tasked to do. And show you all these incompetent fools and incompetent social media whores. That's what they are. They just want a name. They want a face. They want popularity. They don't know anything about the man they claim to support, but also the laws and orders in place. It's all public laws. It's all public knowledge. What's not public is initiative. That's an action. And the people who want to know, you have to have initiative to read, study, comprehend. And once you do, you're going to see that I'm actually very competent, very capable, high IQ, and you're going to see all these idiots over here who attack me and all these idiots who just remain lazy and complacent. You're going to realize there's a big divide right there, wider than the continental divide. You're going to realize it. Then you're going to see the difference in these incompetent idiots over here and people who are competent and know what's going on. Per the Posse Comitatus Act and Department of Defense regulations, the United States is generally prohibited from employing Title 10 DoD forces to provide direct military involvement to enforce the law of the United States unless expressly authorized by the Constitution or Congress. Well, guess what Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550 is? There's that unless right there. That is the Constitution and the Congress. Title 50 is the Congress. So there goes Bernie Sanders. There's those Jasmine Crockett. All these people that think they're real. They're not, but whatever. All that out the wayside. Right out the window. Generally prohibited. Unless. So that's where you skip all other. You apply generally prohibited unless authorized by Congress or the Constitution. That's what Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550 is. There it is. Then you go read it. Then you got to know, oh, well, in the first 180 days, President Trump, wow, he had his State of the Union speech, March 4, 2020. First time you heard the word COVID mentioned. March 13th, he declared a verbal national emergency. March 23rd, you had this article start hitting all over the mainstream out there that President Trump is to install a general just in case the law breaks down. Generals are already there. They're not installed. They're already there by rank. They're already there by what they call a chain of command in the military. They're already there by gaining rank. All the years there. You don't install a general. All right. March 23rd. March 27th, President Trump federalized 1 million reserve components to active duty. That order has not been revoked to this day. It means it's still active. All right. March the 30th, he told the whole world what his quote-unquote vaccine was. And he told you that we're not the United States government. He said it. He said, we have administered to the United States government, the governors and the hospitals, hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine. How in the hell do we still have quote-unquote Republicans, quote-unquote conservatives, and quote-unquote patriots saying that he supported the vaccine? There's the short attention spans, there's the laziness, there's the complacency, there's the simplicity that people can't even define the difference in the word vaccine, and then the brands and what it was, the model, whatever you want to. Same thing with the automobile. The automobile is the word vaccine. It don't tell you if it's a Chevy, if it's a Ford, and it also don't tell you is it a Silverado, is it a Dodge, is it a whatever. It don't tell you is it a Longhorn, is it a Bighorn, is it an F-150. On March the 30th, in a press conference, he told you Teva and Sandoz. He told 2 or 3 different pharmaceutical companies, how do you get Jonhson & Jonhson from TEVA? How do you get Moderna out of TEVA? How do you get all these others out there? Pfizer. How do you get Pfizer out of TEVA? How do you get Pfizer out of Sandoz? How do you get Jonhson & Jonhson out of Sandoz? How do you get Moderna out of Sandoz? How do you get that? Where do you not hear hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine? And he said occasionally a Z-Pak, depending on if your body can handle it. Where do you get all this other shit from? Because you don't listen. You don't listen, and your short attention spans. You hear what you want to hear, and you are still in your swamp. That's why you got to drain your swamp. If you love this man, if you support this man, you probably want to listen to him, know what he's working with. You're doing him an injustice. You're doing his family an injustice. You're doing this whole movement. You're doing this whole operation. You're doing the military. You're doing everything, including yourself, an injustice. Because you don't listen. You don't want to empower yourself. And you're still following a bunch of swamp rhetoric, swamp people. Not the real swamp people. Not the ones from Louisiana that catch them alligators. Not old Troy Landry and that group down there. Not that. Not real swamp people. You're following swamp. You're swallowing a bunch of incompetent social media whores. They don't care about you. They don't care about you, and they don't drive across the country on their dime. They don't speak on their dime. They don't go across country hugging your neck, shaking your hands, and being drugged away like I am. And I'm only one. There's a few others out there, some good people that do the same thing. They have to drag me away. I'll talk to you until I absolutely can't stand anymore, until I'm exhausted. These people don't do that. These people don't care about you. So why do you support people who don't care about you, who feed you drama and propaganda and negativity and clickbait material? And even if they are under an NDA, it doesn't matter. What they were before the operation, some of these people existed before it. What they were before, same thing. And the other thing, even if they were under an NDA, they wouldn't be attacking me. Now, I don't care about the attack itself. I can handle that as part of resistance, as part of also exposing incompetence. But if they were under an NDA, I would not be even on their. I wouldn't be on their menu. So they expose themselves in multiple ways. You've got to stop catering to their names and their platforms simply because you thought they were good, based off of surface level material. I show you the back end stuff. That's all. Some of it's public, some of it's not. You tie it in. Here it is. Boom. It's all the foundation. It's a solid foundation. It says specifically. Then you go back to Title 50. It says what up there? It says regular or irregular military forces. Irregular is your special operations. That's your clandestine, your covert operations. That's your secretive stuff until they want you to know it's public. So there's your tie-in. All right, that's your tie-in to your Special Operations Command, the unconventional warfare and irregular warfare. All right, let me get back to my notes. So then you go over to New York 2022, 2023, 2024. National Guard were in subways. The reserve components were in subways. And they told everybody this. But there's no federalization order in place. There's no Title 32 order in place first by a governor. None. So that means they're federalized. The only federalization order for those National Guard in New York to be in subways is Executive Order 13912, which invoked Title 10, Section 12302, Title 10. So there X's out veterans right there who have any kind of discrepancy. Because all of us veterans, armed, so your regular forces, well, active duty, and your reserve, we swore in under Title 10, Section 502. So you can't have one Title 10 without the other, especially when it's backed by laws and orders that supports the Constitution. You gotta support it. Title 32 is your National Guard, but they still are under the authority of the Commander-in-Chief as well. But the Adjutant General of the state has them. But the Adjutant General reports to the governor unless what? Unless the National Guard are federalized by Title 10. So why are there reports by the Army, by the Adjutant General for the New York National Guard? How come there's no Title 32 ordered by the governor? So the Adjutant General reports to the governor unless the National Guard are federalized by Title 10. There's no Title 32 order in place for the National Guard in subways. So then recently, March 11th, 2025, the Senate wrote to President Trump to federalize the National Guard. Well, it bumped up from 2,800 from 2024, from 2022 to 2024 to 8,200. If you go read Executive Order 28 by the New York governor, all right, it don't say anything in there about Title 32. It says federal support. Reserves only serve a federal mission. They're not state. They're not dual. They're federal only. Reserves are federal only, meaning presidential only. Title 10 presidential. The only order in place that federalized the reserve components is President Donald John Trump. March 27, 2020, Executive Order 13912, Title 10, Section 12302. Sucks to suck. Texas, 2024. The only person with a presidential title to appear in Eagle Pass, Texas, which has been the hot topic all over the mainstream media. Eagle Pass, Texas. Del Rio, Texas. Eagle Pass, Texas. Del Rio, Texas. Those are the only two spots that have appeared all over the media in Texas. Was President Donald John Trump. In February 2024, 14 states deployed to Texas. When a state deploys to another state, they're federalized. That's how that works. The only federalization order at that point in time for those states to be in Texas, same Title 10. Executive Order 13912 from March 27, 2020 that invoked Title 10, Section 12302. President Trump standing on world TV telling everybody it's a military operation. There's a war going on. We've been invaded. Which also points back to March 23rd, 2020, the installment, quote unquote, of a general. Well, that points to the suspension clause, the suspension of writ of habeas corpus, rebellion or invasion of public safety. Legislative branch does that. So that also squanders and squashes Bernie Sanders and Jasmine Crockett and all them out there who think they're real. That squashes that as well. It's the legislative branch who suspends the writ of habeas corpus. All right, they call it the suspension clause. All right, others call it suspending the Constitution. Whatever you want to call it, it's a suspension of the writ of habeas corpus for invasion or rebellion of public safety. President Trump's told you over and over and over again, over and over, it's an invasion. All right, so he's standing there telling the whole world it's a military operation. Then he says what? Military operation, twice. All right, then you go over to the FOB, so a forward operating base. He's in a FOB. You don't salute a former commander, even if it was a former military, not just a president. You don't salute a former commander. You don't at ease a former commander. Come on, people, don't do the military this kind of injustice. You don't support. You don't at ease. You don't at ease a former commander. Period. No matter what kind of commander they were, you don't at ease them. They're not in the military anymore. All right, but if President Trump was a quote-unquote former president, he wouldn't be the commander-in-chief. They wouldn't at ease him. He wouldn't be walking in a forward operating base either, not as a presidential candidate. You got to keep in mind that was during the election year. That would have been a violation of his own Executive Order 13848 with a national emergency for election interference. That would have been election interference of a sitting president if quote-unquote Joe was real. It also would have been a breach of national security because that's the border. And it being a real invasion, if he was a presidential candidate, a former president, at the border, making a mockery out of the border, that would be a breach of national security. So why didn't Joe and the Democrats invoke the 14th Amendment, 18th Amendment, and the 25th Amendment on President Trump? Why didn't they? They had clear evidence. Why didn't they do that? They didn't. He also met with 12 foreign leaders 13 different times during 2024. 12 foreign leaders? I'm pretty sure that's also 18 U.S. Code Section 953, the Logan Act. Why didn't they invoke the 14th, 18th, and 25th Amendments on him then? They threatened they were. Why didn't they? Come on, people. So Texas, President Trump standing there with the Adjutant General and the Governor. Clear visual of a chain of command right there. Clear visual, 14 states in Texas. Clear visual, the only person with a presidential title at Del Rio, Eagle Pass, the only topic in news, mainstream news, of where the invasion was taking place. They showed same day that quote-unquote Joe was in Brownsville, Texas with an Air Force 2 with no call sign. And to this day, Brownsville.gov has it the 47th president came to Brownsville. That's a coding thing. I run all my websites. All I got to do is go in right now. If I mistype something and just change it that quick. How come Brownsville.gov has a 47th president for quote-unquote Joe Biden? It's little things, man. Little things they show you. This is all fake. It's all faux. It's all a show. It's all a movie. It's all an operation. Eagle Pass, Texas. Guess what President Trump has up right now? On whitehouse.gov. Let me look at the date again. Whitehouse.gov. It'll pull up really quick. Right now, as we speak, Eagle Pass, Texas. See if it pulled up. It's going slow right now. Is it storming down here? So anyway, if you go to whitehouse.gov right now, President Trump just a few days ago put up another, like, it's basically a memorandum. It's adding to what you can and can't go to, like if you stumbled on this federal property and how you're going to be treated. Eagle Pass, Texas. So they showed you right there, chain of command. The Adjutant General reports to the governor unless the National Guard are federalized by Title 10. And there's your Commander-in-Chief in 14 states deployed to Texas. The only way they can deploy to another state is to be federalized. The only federalization order is March 27, 2020 at Executive Order 13912, Title 10, Section 12302. Where you at, Laura Logan? You going to share another stupid post? You going to share another stupid post? Joint Publication 3-57, page 46. Executive Order 13912, Title 10, Section 12302, Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. And then what are the odds that California, 2025, National Guard, Marine Corps, and you got the court now, there's an article right now on a .gov site that the court, California, is going to allow the evidence, obtain the evidence of why the National Guard and the Marine Corps were out there. Do you know what that means? That's your disclosure. All the people out there wanting, I want justice, that's disclosure. So justice is coming. So it's like when you buy a house that needs remodeling. What do you start with first? The foundation, the structure. You don't start painting the shutters if the foundation is about to fall, or you need a post that needs, whatever it is. If you got something that's leaning or whatever it is, or you got a post outside that the doggone front porch is about to fall off, you fix the foundation and the structure first. You go with the bigger things first. So draining the swamp would mean doing what? Going with the things that were more important first, the bigger things first. Then you work your way down to the small things. Follow the money. Remember President Trump saying follow the money? Well, how do you follow the money? What does following the money do? It shows you operations of whom? The bad guys, the deep state, the swamp. All right, then you do what? You take control of their money. Right? You take control. You stop the money. You stop the flow. It's really simple stuff. And you see this stuff in TV shows and movies. And many people love them some drama movies, love you some action movies. How can't you apply this? So California, the National Guard, President Trump did a Title 10 12406 call up. You know where that's in all of my work? The documents from 2021. I said he will use Title 10, Section 12406. I mean, come on, people. All right. And so then California. Right, so this court's going to allow the evidence to come into place. Well, that's going to shut up all the people that thought Bernie Sanders was like a hero and Jasmine Crockett. So see what's happening. President Trump's taking all the literature and all the corporate and all the stuff, the language of 1973 War Powers Act, and he's using it against. He said, I'll kick your ass with our reserves. Easy. All right, cool. Boom. All right. And using it against them. So all these people that thought all their heroes are going to start falling. They're going to fall off the face of the earth. So Republicans, don't think that you ain't got heroes either that are all mouth, all flapping gums, and ain't doing something on the backside. Sorry, that's what draining the swamp is. And the worst ones are the ones that look just like you and talk just like you. They're the worst. They're the absolute worst. But that's also how we derive the comment, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Because the enemies closer are the ones who replicate you and your language and your verbiage and your looks and everything. They're the ones who blend in the most. That's why some of your best friends out there have betrayed you in anything in life. Everyone who's ever lived a little life, you know that some of your best friends and family have betrayed you. Because they were what? Comfortable around you. And you were comfortable around them. And they knew that you had their complete trust. Because you believe in people. Because you are a good person. If you're a good person, you are that way. But a little life shows you that you can be a good person, but also have what? Wisdom. So then what are the odds of New York, Texas, California, Iran, Yemen, Ukraine, all that, laws and orders? What are the odds that you have a joint Operation 3.0 issued January 17, 2017, the same day that FEMA and Department of Homeland Security put out Federal Continuity Directive 1, which is the overall umbrella for the continuity government, booklet, publication? What are the odds the military puts out the same day joint operation, a publication, but it's called Joint Operation 3.0, the same day? 3 days before, the military walks down behind President Trump, military intelligence, Judge Advocate General, we're taking the power out of D.C. and giving it back to the people, which started the whole operation. And then June 13th, you have Federal Continuity Directive 2, which is the implementation part of Federal Continuity Directive 1. So this is your umbrella, just like the basic, like the Constitution. It's a generic. Federal Continuity Directive 2 is the implementation thing, like planning and all that. Implementation, meaning we're going to put this to action. This is what's going to look like. Kind of like the laws. Joint Operation 3.0 on the same day as Federal Continuity Directive 1. Then you have a Joint Planning 5.0, which is the operational book of that. It's your implementation of that military. 3 days after Federal Continuity Directive 2, your implementation of your Federal Continuity Directive 1 is put out. June 16th, 2017. Don't sit here and try some bull crap that this was all coincidental. Those are your continuity governments, booklets. All right, then you got to go over to section 1550 again to the bottom. I've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again. Why would Joe Biden, if he was real, he didn't get all these things he was supposed to get as a president if he was real, which it's an operation, but just going for the people who are still in la la land and they're still struggling over here, all right, or they're still acting like fools or whatever, treating you like crap or whatever. Well, I'm trying to, rally them a little bit, put a little lighter under their rear end, light them up a little bit. Why would Joe Biden be relinquishing his authority? Because that's what he did if he was real. And I know he wasn't real, but again, we're playing hypothetical here. In the very bottom of section 1550, it's not a hard scroll. It's just like that, one scroll. It's not some long thing. Executive documents. So it's a documentation. So if I was going to document something and say, okay, well, on this date, June 29, 2025, I'm documenting that I am starving and I want a Spam and tomato sandwich so bad with mayonnaise laced all over it, I can just about, my stomach feels like my throat's been cut. I'm documenting that. I'm hungry. All right? That's a documentation. Then you go back and say, hey, did you ever get your tomato and Spam and mayonnaise sandwich? I say, yes, I did. And I tore that thing up too. All right? So, executive documents. It says Memorandum of President of the United States, July 19, 2021. It don't say Memorandum of the President. It says Memorandum of President. Key. Memorandum for the Secretary of Defense. By the authority vested in me as president, not the president, as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including Section 301 of Title III, United States Code, I hereby delegate to the Secretary of Defense, the authority and functions vested in the President by Section 1285A through E of Public Law on the use of military force and supporting partner forces to the Congress. Well, that's just documentation. It doesn't mean that quote-unquote Joe's real. But for someone who might stumble across that, it's there and it's documented. Why would quote-unquote Joe be delegating the authority and functions vested in the President of Section 1285A through E? You know what that is? 1285A through E is Section 1550. It's already there. That's already a war order from December the 20th, 2019. So why would quote-unquote Joe be relinquishing his commander-in-chief authority to the Secretary of Defense? Because the Secretary of Defense is military. You know what they call this in the South? We call it in the South a shit-eating grin. That is saying that as president, so that's just a generic comment, as president, because that would be a clause that's used by law. But it says the vested in the president of Section 1550 to the Secretary of Defense. Well, President Trump had already given a direct order to the Secretary of Defense with Executive Order 13919, April the 30th, 2020, in that same first 180 days under Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. So the command was already there, the war order is already there. This is just documentation showing an extra layer that quote-unquote Joe Biden was not president and he was never president by laws and orders. And in the famous words of my dear sergeant who is going on, memorial bracelet here, it sucks to suck. I'm so glad that I'm able to use somebody's legacy who was a great person and a great soldier and their quote for the lifetime. Sucks to suck. So again, where are all these clowns at? Where are they? All these people who try to steal from me and set me up, all these fake this, that, and other. Why? It's all laws and orders that's draining the swamp. Look at all these people out there that are misleading thousands of people. They don't have to. There's a clear blueprint in place. If they knew what they were supposed to know, then guess what they would do? They'd be leading people. But they can't. And you know why? Intellectual property. President Trump signed an executive order just for this year to protect authors and writers, and which would be songwriters as well. Intellectual property. He said we have to keep our IQ precedent. We have to keep smart people, IQ, high IQ, protected. And we got to promote more smarter people. Well, I know I'm smart. I know I'm not dumb. But I mean, the thing is this, is like, look at all these people who don't have to do what they're doing, and they're damning themselves. They're exposing themselves. Quit following them. Listen to the man. We're draining the swamp. You don't keep following what replicates the swamp. The swamp is the past. It's not the future. The future is educating people on the three branches of government, legislation, House Representatives, the Senate, how they function, who writes the law, who passes the law, enforces the law, who interprets the law, how they work. That's our future, is getting back to our foundation. Why would you replicate something that derails people from the foundation? Why would you support that? So everybody learned a valuable lesson this week especially. If you didn't learn it before, Iran showed you who the incompetent idiots are, who are social media whores who don't care about you. All they care about is, I want a name and social media and a platform, I want a voice and a say-so. Opinions don't mean anything. When there's a clear, defined military occupation, military war, when there's a military operation going on, You don't need opinions from quote-unquote investigative journalists. Whoever came up with that term should be slapped as well. Education in this nation is pathetic. So you don't want to be the centerfold of pathetic. So if you don't want to be the centerfold of pathetic, you need to do what? Educate yourself on what matters. So just like this week, kind of funny. So it was kind of cool. A patriot wrote in and said, hey, your True Social isn't showing up. And I was like, uh-oh. Because I was in a place where my phone was working. So I pulled it up. Sure enough. Banned, blocked, deleted. No True Social. So I text my friend Siggy Flicker. I said, hey, my True Social's not showing up. It looks like I've been blocked, deleted, removed from the platform. She looped me in with someone that everyone would probably know. And next thing you know, they were in communication with Devin Nunes. Thank you, Devin, for what you do. And within about 30 seconds, I was right back up. All right. Then I got an email saying, here's how you verify. We get a verification badge. So, did all that. Got a red check. Fully validated, fully verified on True Social now. So now no one has to wonder if they're following a fake page or not. So, there's that. All right, red check. It's at Derek Jonhson and on True Social. And then you'll see my at handle's at Derek Jonhson, but my display name is Rattletrap1776. Well, what's key about it is this. Like I told Siggy, this is very key because here's why. The very last post that I put up, this all shows you I'm directly over the target. Directly over it. The last post I put up ties into Obama. All roads lead to Obama. The last post that I posted was the photos of Obama, all roads lead to Obama, and two other key people. All of you patriots who want justice, you got to wait. Because you got to make sure that you know how to be the government, the we the people, that our Declaration of Independence describes. You need to stop worrying about arrest and start wondering how we prevent arrest from happening. Humanity. Teaching people. Studying. Reading, studying, comprehending. Education. We got to put an emphasis back on real education versus man-made bullcrap education. I have an undergrad degree from the University of Alabama, business management, and I have my master's degree from Colorado State University, my MBA. They don't mean a dang thing unless this right here knows what to do with it. They're just a piece of paper that shows I could pass a bunch of professors and their rhetoric and their ideology and pass their test that they made based on a standard and a curriculum that all these people in that arena established. They established this. So I'm the very one who can speak about it. We have people who are uneducated but call themselves educated. You don't walk around if you're educated, you don't have to walk around saying I'm educated. You just are. You just display that. So why do you have people all over their social media saying educated and this and we have become such pathetic people in this nation. Selfish, attention whores. And 99% of them don't have anything to back it with. So, my last post, so funny. You don't see other platforms out there talking about it because one, they can't comprehend it, right? Because in order to comprehend a little piece, but a complicated piece, then you got to be able to you got to be able to know all this around it. So March the 19th, 2024, 4 months before the quote-unquote assassination, President Trump is got a petition out of many of them, but in this 123-939 Supreme Court docket case, March 19th, 2024, President Trump is filing a case that's using Executive Order 12333, which is the assassination executive order by Ronald Reagan. That ties in to Gerald Ford, who was also had an assassination attempt on his life, who had an executive order 11905. That ties in of what you're not supposed to do to certain people, the three-letter agencies, what they're not supposed to do. Unconsented physical searches, surveillance, tax records, any kind of surveillance, but also physical searches. Didn't Mar-a-Lago get raided by the quote-unquote FBI? Physical searches. Don't the liberals whine, bitch, and complain while President Trump don't show his tax returns? Tax returns. Opening of mail. Didn't President Trump say they took some other things of mine as well and opened them? Opening the mail. Didn't he say they spied on my campaign? Didn't they put up cameras and videos at Trump Tower? Surveillance. What part of Executive Order 11905 don't you hear there? Then that one went over to Executive Order 12333 by Ronald Reagan. It's called the Assassination Order. That executive order is found in Unconventional Warfare, Special Operations Command, 2016 publication, referenced. 1966 Pyramid, Special Operations Command, first pyramid. 1966 pyramid, agitation. 2016 pyramid for revolutions. That's what it's for. It's got a pyramid in there and all these things on it. 1966 word agitation. In 2016 changed to assassination. It's all special operations. So then you got this Supreme Court docket case. All right, and it specifically asks the question, can a president order SEAL Team 6 to commit murder on a political rival? Uh-oh. The last time SEAL Team 6 and a president was involved with any kind of operation was Osama bin Laden. Murdered May the 2nd, 2011. Also, in 2011, Gaddafi was killed. The leader of Libya. In October 2011. Remember Hillary Clinton? Hillary Rodham Clinton. Remember in the under oath and she balled her fist up like Hitler? Why does it matter? They're gone. Libya, Benghazi. Benghazi, Libya. Remember Benghazi? Don't we have a movie about Benghazi? Gaddafi stood in front of the General Assembly, massive, some years back. And the leader of Syria, who packed his bags and fled as well, not long ago, was laughing at him. And he was saying that every single one of you could face exactly what Saddam Hussein faced. Murdered by the United States. And they all laughed at him. And then he was, quote unquote, assassinated. If you go to bin Laden's page, it says killed, died. If you go to Gaddafi, it says assassinated. Why don't they have the same kind of terminology for their deaths? And why is it that 2011 It's the same year, right? So May, June, July, August, September, October. 5 months. 5 months separates these two figures. Why is it that in that Title 50, Chapter 33, the War Powers Act of 1973, why is it you can't find Obama's name anywhere in it? Sucks to suck, don't it? All roads lead to Obama. Guess who served under Obama? I got out in 2015. What year did President Trump roll down the escalator? June 2015? I don't have to say anything else. Because when the good Lord allows me to tell my story one day, it's all going to make sense. And it's going to be worth it too. And it's all going to be in His time, and it's all going to be on His accord. Because right now, this ain't about me. It ain't ever been about me. And you can't find a single video of me talking about myself and what I have in classified documents. And I'm not the only one. There's going to be a few more. Quite a few. Who'll have stories too, and they need to be heard, and they will be heard. And it's all going to make sense. It's all going to make sense, baby. I mean, I'll tell you right now. As hard as I sound, I tell you, I love all people. You know, I want everybody to know what's going on right now. And, you know, but sometimes we have to be hard on people, man. You have to. You got to wake people up, man. I'm telling you right now. Like, there was no reason for all the rhinos and never Trumpers that showed their rear ends this week. Didn't have to. If they knew one law in place, if they knew exactly what's going on, they wouldn't. These people damn themselves. So keep supporting the ones who are consistent with you, that show you what's going on lawfully. All right, now there's some regurgitators out there, you know, but other than that, you know, I mean, remember who led you through it now. Remember that. Remember who's been consistent. Remember who didn't get compromised. Remember who didn't get bought. Remember that. Very key. It's very key with draining your swamp. President Trump's draining the swamp. Why are you trying to give them CPR? It's really that simple. If you love President Trump, you support President Trump, the commander-in-chief of the most biblical, monumental, historical operation known to the world. He's draining the swamp. Why are you giving the swamp CPR? That's what you're doing whenever you say, oh, they just made a mistake. No, they didn't. There's no mistakes to be had in a military operation. Military occupation, continental. No mistakes. You have some distractions? Absolutely. You have some theater distractions as well? Absolutely. But no. Misleading people, deliberately misleading, that's not part of a military occupation, military operation, continental government. No, it's not. Public laws and orders are public knowledge. It's the application of knowledge, though, that's power, not knowledge itself. You can have knowledge in a bowl, like a bowl of candy at your grandma's house, but if you don't ever reach in the bowl of candy and unravel the candy and put that candy in your mouth, it's just a bowl of candy. So knowledge is the same way. President Trump will be exonerated. And all of you people out there who are true patriots, but some of you that have, you've either grown fatigued or you're tired or you're exhausted, all these other things. When's this going to be over? When's it? Have you not applied President Trump's age 79 years old. All right? No one knows how long we're going to live on this planet. No one knows that. No one knows when we're going to live, when we're going to die. I mean, we're living right now, but no one knows that. No one knows when you're going to die. No one knows that. So, let's go with the average lifespan of a man. 78 years old. President Trump's past that. He's already passed. He's in bonus years. He's already passed the average lifespan of a man, of a male. So, why? It's kind of like when they induct players into the Hall of Fame after they're gone. I mean, it still matters because the family that knows what the player went through and all that, it's still somewhat okay. But why not, if they're Hall of Fame caliber, why not induct them into the Hall of Fame while they're living? Let them feel that glory and that honor for the sacrifice they made. You think they're going to let this go to President Trump's 90 years old, 95, 100? No one knows when he's going to pass. No one knows. No one knows that. So apply that. Apply that. He will be exonerated. Not acquitted. He will be exonerated. Exoneration ain't for me. It ain't for true patriots. I don't need him exonerated. All these people who hate him, ridicule, mock him, and don't know anything about the Constitution, don't know anything about the foundation, don't know anything about laws and orders, don't know anything about the military, those are the ones who have to exonerate it. The only people who can exonerate President Trump are liberals. Jeb Bush. Go back and watch the campaign trail 2016. He annihilated Jeb Bush. All right, but Jeb was throwing all kinds of stuff around. Who said that he handled Iran really well? Jeb Bush. So all these people they're going to start unfolding. They're going to start folding like dominoes. They're going to start exonerating President Trump. They're going to start praising him. Enjoy the journey. We're not headed to a destination. We're on a journey. And when we get through all of the unfolding and exoneration, and we're winning so much that he said you're going to win so much you're going to get tired of winning, that's when your true patriotism is going to kick in. That's when you're going to see what kind of patriot warrior you are. Because we got to maintain and sustain this. And in order to maintain and sustain this clean out of the swamp, you have to be able to do what? Identify what leads to arrest, what leads to corruption. Begging for, we need arrest, and nothing's going to change until we see arrest. No, nothing's going to change until you change your freaking attitudes. Nothing's going to change until you change your education level. Because it's people who got lazy, complacent, and all these piss poor attitudes out there that led to the incompetence, that led to this uneducated, or these educated, uneducated fools out there based on a man-made system. Based on things that there's no foundation for. That's what we got to change. It's a fundamental reset, though, not a change. It's a fundamental reset. Going back to our foundation. You're going to see justice because the plan was to do that. But that's not the prevalent part. The prevalent part is going, okay, knowing what has been taking place, knowing what is taking place, knowing where we're headed. And when we get to where we're headed, it's not a destination. It's going to be, yes, you're going to see that justice. You're going to see these tribunals. You're going to see these things. But we got to make sure on the flip side of that, that the people who say all the right things and blend in with you and say all these things, these key words and trigger words that just put little fuzzy feelings all in your heart, but you don't ever go look at it on paper like I show you. You just put all your stock and trust and faith in this person with a name and a cool way of look and a cool way of saying things. Just all that. Which leads to what? Compromise, being bought, and also what? The lust of money, the lust of everything. And then we're right back to the swamp again if we don't establish principles, precedent, accountability, responsibility, all the principles that we got to have. Discipline, structure, transparency, honesty. And then punishment for people who do what? Go against that. So we got to get majority of society back on a foundation with those principles, with that discipline, with that structure. That's what we got to do first. And then we can maintain and sustain it. Or we're going to be right back. With our population, we'll be right back to it. So that's where we are. And, but no time to be a rhino. The days of old are in the past. So you got to do what? Drain your swamp. Drain your swamp.